Audio check. Audio check. Can you guys hear me? I think it's looking good. I think you can. All right. To everyone here, listening, watching from wherever you are, thank you for joining us here at Back Perch Weather for our live update here tonight of Category 4 Hurricane Melissa, a potentially catastrophic storm for the island of Jamaica. Liberal Monarchist says, hi, I can hear. Awesome. Awesome, guys. All right. The audio is working. All right, so here we are. The volume's good. Here we are. Here's the latest satellite image right now of Hurricane Melissa, a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 145 miles per hour and 933 millibars. And man, there's just a lot to unpack here with this system. Yeah, as Buffalo says, yo. But there's a lot to unpack here today, and so that's why we're going live here to do this update, because this is a dire emergency situation unfolding right now for not just for the island of Jamaica, right? Haiti and Eastern Cuba also have to watch out for this system, but mostly it's Jamaica. That's where our main focus is at currently. And for good reason. This is not your everyday Category 4. This is not your everyday hurricane that will be impacting a piece of land, even at major intensity. This has the potential, this storm has the potential to be a catastrophic disaster. And I don't like to use the word catastrophic too often, right? I don't want it to lose its meaning, but this could genuinely be a case where the word catastrophic is definitely warranted, because we have a very unique and dangerous situation here for Jamaica tonight. Not just tonight, but mostly tomorrow and then Tuesday. That's when we're expecting landfall, maybe a little bit over 24 hours from now, but who knows. Anyway, to update everyone here on what we're watching and what we're waiting for here in the near term. So the next National Hurricane Center update is coming in the next 30 minutes. So we're going to be here waiting for that to see what that says. The last NHC advisory had Melissa as a 145 mile per hour Category 4 hurricane with a minimum pressure of 933 millibars. And there's a caveat to that 933 millibars that I'm about to tell you. But basically already an extremely powerful system, monster Caribbean storm. And the crazy thing is, she may not be done intensifying, and that is really this is one of those overall situations when you take into account the area that's being hit, the way it's being hit, and the type of hurricane that is causing the impacts, where it really leaves a pit in your stomach. And I don't mean that lightly at all. You know, this is a truly very extremely serious situation for a multitude of reasons. But first, on the immediate real data and the satellite imagery we're looking at now, it's been a weird last couple of hours for Hurricane Melissa, absolutely no doubt about it. Earlier today, during the overnight hours earlier this morning, we saw Melissa undergo an explosive phase of intensification. She went from a 70 mile per hour tropical storm to a 140 mile per hour Category 4 hurricane in just 24 hours. Okay, so that is definitely explosive. That is actually double the official criteria for rapid intensification. So when we talk about rapid intensification, that is officially defined as a hurricane's increase in wind speed of 35 miles per hour in a 24-hour time frame. Okay, so Melissa did that double, 70 miles per hour in just 24 hours. So explosive intensification during the overnight hours and when we woke up this morning. Now, since then, it's been a little less cut and dry, and it's been pretty mysterious to watch what's been going on here. So on the one hand, Melissa's satellite presentation throughout the day arguably has just been incrementally getting better and better and better. The eye has gotten clearer, more circular, definitely drier. I mean, look at that thing. That is an absolute vortex, a black hole, a tropical black hole. So everything on satellite presentation for Melissa, and you can see, I mean, look how freakish this thing is. Man, I mean, just look how freakish this is. This is like this exceptionally symmetrical central dense overcast. That's that central cloud shield of thunderstorms. And it's kind of separated out from these outer rain bands out here a little bit. Gonna have to watch these to make sure they don't trail up here and kind of train over the coastal areas, the Dominican Republic and Haiti. That's something we definitely have to watch. Again, we are going to break all that down in a second. But yeah, so throughout the day, the satellite presentation has arguably gotten more impressive as time has gone on. However, that is not telling the whole story, because we've also had Hurricane Hunter aircraft reconnaissance investigating the system pretty much all day nonstop. And the consensus from those planes, we've had a lot of mixed messaging, right? So at first, they sampled what the initial peak intensity was 944 millibars. So that was during the initial big explosive jump in intensity during the overnight hours. So you had that, right? So they measured the 944, 145. We all said, hey, this thing is absolutely bombing out. Who knows how high it can go, right? I mean, considering how fast it was going, who knows when we're going to get Cat 5. People were thinking maybe we're going to get Cat 5 before noon today. Now, of course, that didn't happen, because shortly after that initial peak intensity, further reconnaissance aircraft investigating the core of the system found that even though her winds were more or less kind of holding steady, her pressure actually started to go up, which is a sign of weakening, right? When hurricanes strengthen, their central pressure in that eye goes down, which drives the wind speed up. So it's an inverse relationship between the central atmospheric pressure at sea level at the core of the hurricane and the winds in the eye wall, which is the band, the rain band that's most closely surrounding the eye. That's where the strongest winds are located. So when pressure goes down, winds go up, but the pressure actually started to go up, or i.e. weakening, a little bit through the afternoon hours. So that was kind of strange, because on satellite, there weren't a lot of obvious indicators that we were seeing some sort of structural degradation or something. So we kept looking, and we stumbled upon radar from Jamaica, which has been very off and on today, because the website has actually been overloaded with how many people are watching it. So it's been very spotty. But at the times when Jamaican radar was available, we were able to see that concentric eye walls were clearly beginning to form. That is so that is an outer eye wall. When I say concentric eye walls, an outer eye wall, basically a rain band moving in towards the core of the storm, strengthening and starting to choke off the old original inner eye wall. That was the original core doing the intensification, right? But then this rain band started coming in, started strengthening, and basically started resembling an outer eye wall and kind of choking off the inner one. This is very common in major hurricanes, especially ones during their initial intensification phase when they're still kind of compact and small in size. But so we thought, okay, here comes an eye wall replacement cycle. Let's see what happens. But then eye wall replacement cycle has not happened, right? And like I said, eye wall replacement cycles, they enlarge the storm's winds, but they also kind of weaken and disrupt the whole core structure, right? Because the eye wall caves in, disintegrates the inner one, and the outer one has to come in, take hold, and then maybe if conditions are favorable, it starts re-intensifying. But we saw none of that. We saw no core disruption. We saw no core collapse. The eye did not cool down with a bunch of cloud tops. We basically saw no change in the storm structure. So that was kind of puzzling. And then it appeared as though instead of an eye wall replacement cycle, what we were actually seeing was an eye wall merger. So an eye wall merger is a much different and more complicated process than an eye wall replacement cycle, and it is also much rarer. I think we had one with Hurricane Milton, at this time about 12 and a half months ago. but they're much more rare. So an eyewall merger is where the outer eyewall is just how it suggests, right? The outer eyewall, instead of choking off the inner core, killing it, and then taking charge, is where the outer eyewall actually comes in and joins forces, combines with that inner eyewall. Let me keep checking for that 11 p.m. Eastern Time update that from the National Organ Center is not in yet. But anyway, so an eyewall merger is where the outer eyewall actually comes in and merges with the inner eyewall. And usually that actually creates a stronger, more organized, more symmetrical core. And if conditions are favorable, you can often see a big time jump in re-intensification following an eyewall merger. So we thought that was a pretty good explanation for why Melissa's pressure went up. So she peaked at 944 early this morning, millibars. And then by the afternoon, the pressure had actually risen up to 953 millibars. So she was weakening, right? Because the pressure in her eye was going up. So, but again, there was no massive collapse or disruption. So the eyewall merger theory seemed pretty good, seemed pretty sound, because eyewall mergers only have slight disruptions. They don't really weaken the storm as they're happening. They kind of just stop any sort of intensification until the merger is complete. So that theory almost seemed to be exactly the case up until about an hour, 2 hours ago, because following the eyewall merger on Jamaican radar, it looked like it was possibly completing. Right, the two were combining together, and so it looked like they were completing, and that was directly evidenced by further reconnaissance aircraft. I mean, we've just had a boatload of hurricane hunters in there today. It's awesome, the data we've been getting out. So then we had another reconnaissance flight go in there and subsequent missions, and they reported back by sunset basically tonight. It was the 8 p.m. Eastern Time advisory, that Melissa's pressure had cratered all the way down to a new peak intensity, a new low of 933 millibars. That's 20 millibars lower than the 953 she was at earlier in the afternoon. Seemed pretty sound. But since then, the subsequent passes, I think we have a hurricane hunter in there right now. Let me check up on that. The subsequent passes, though, have not revealed anything suggesting further intensification, or at least not in a super robust sense. Maybe very slightly. But it almost seems like the merger, which I think definitely is happening to a certain extent, but because it's such a complicated and mysterious process and it doesn't happen often, we don't understand it as well. I think the merger is maybe getting close to completion now, even though we're not seeing by the data, even though the satellite imagery looks crazy by the data, a huge burst in intensification. Also noted that even though the pressure went down to 933 there, the winds have been stuck pretty much all day. And Recon also found evidence of a slight double wind maxima. So that is referring to a maximum area of winds in two places, which indicates we've got an inner eye wall and outer eye wall. Slight, not major, but it is still there. So it suggests that the eye wall merger has not completed, but we're watching all the data we can in real time to see if the merger completes. Because if the merger does complete, then that is really bad news, because then you are going to get a stronger, more robust, more organized, and more symmetrical central eye wall for Melissa to intensify with. And since she has all kinds of time left remaining, basically hardly moving at all, only at 3 to 5 miles per hour all day, she's hardly moving at all south of Jamaica. She's basically sitting there harvesting these extremely warm sea surface temperatures. So if that eye wall merger actually completes, and she has that brand new super robust core to just sit over these warm waters with, she's already done enough with it, becoming an extremely intense Category 4 that you're seeing on your screen. But I think you have that merger complete, and you're looking at you're looking at that is the moment when you're going to see the intensification phase into a Category 5 hurricane, which is still... Is that a new one? Forecast. Okay, yeah. So we do have the new update, and I'm going to get to that, but it is still forecast to become a Category 5 hurricane. I'm going to take some questions here real quick, because we have a couple. Max Travis asking, how many hours of constant rain? Well, it's it's kind of raining a little bit on the southern end of Jamaica. Now, the good news is it hasn't been too bad, right? We haven't had rain today, which was a fear initially because Melissa actually ended up trending a little bit further south and west. But, and this is a big caveat, the main event is not beginning until really tomorrow. And even though super torrential downpours don't seem to be ongoing yet at the moment, again, that's good, but you see how thick and robust and insane this central dense overcast is. That is just extremely torrential rainfall and really devastating winds, right, under this perfect maroon circle of fury, which seems to actually be getting stronger here in the last few frames, but we'll get to that here in a second. So how many hours of constant rain? It could be 48 hours plus. Starting soon, in a few hours, tomorrow. Moshe Love reposted this stream. Eaz Buffalo asking, what do you think it will peak at? Well, the National Hurricane Center is calling for what are they calling for? A 160 mile per hour peak, which is low end category 5. But I caution that some of the hurricane models, such as HAFS and the Google DeepMind AI models, which have been very reliable up to this point, right? They've really nailed a lot this hurricane season in the Atlantic. Many of those hurricane models are showing Melissa actually becoming stronger than 160 miles per hour, which is honestly unfathomable. I really hope that doesn't happen. But it's already a bad enough situation. You don't want to make it worse. But yeah, definitely 100% there's the possibility that we could see a 170 plus mile per hour category 5 hurricane. I think that's absolutely in the cards. Again, especially if Melissa completes the eye-wall merger. Liberal Monarch is commenting, extremely concerned for what is in store for Northwest Jamaica, particularly Montego Bay, which is up here on the other side. Yeah, this is an island-wide event, definitely in terms of the rainfall. But I want to get here to, before I talk about the rainfall, I want to get to this breaking news here real quick. The National Hurricane Center's new advisory now explicitly forecasts Melissa to make landfall in southwest Jamaica, although that's subject to change, as a Category 5 hurricane. Holy moly, guys. This is not good. All right. Let me post this update real quick. But that is the last thing we're going to see. It feels like really every update, every advisory we're getting from the National Hurricane Center, each one is only getting worse than the last. That's honestly how it feels. All right, guys, just give me a second here. Let me post that update. And we are definitely seeing intensification right now. There's no doubt about it. I do honestly think the eye-wall merger is Has that updated yet? Okay, 7 p.m. Okay, so that's not in there yet. But basically, what we're looking at here, so let's do a rundown here of what we're looking at. All right. So here on the National Hurry, here's Melissa in regards to the entire Atlantic Basin. And I'm going to go straight to this potential rainfall map because it is absolutely terrifying. So here we have on this potential rainfall map, look at this. Because of Melissa's extremely slow movement, even when she makes landfall across Jamaica, this is the main story here, because it's an island-wide event. The National Hurricane Center is forecasting widespread totals, especially across central and eastern Jamaica, of 20 to 30 inches.
National Hurricane Center. Hurricane Melissa
No, real quick.
likely to cause life-threatening and catastrophic flooding and landslides in portions of Jamaica and southern Hispaniola. Hurricane conditions expected to begin by late tomorrow in Jamaica.
All right. Yeah, so and that right there says it all. So 20 to 30 inches widespread across central and eastern Jamaica with isolated totals over the highest mountains of Jamaica up to 40 inches. 30 plus, maybe even 40 plus inches. So that is an absolutely extreme amount of rainfall, and if that verifies, it would be absolutely catastrophic just from the landslides and the flash flooding that would take place. Remember, Jamaica is a mountainous island, and what mountains do to tropical convection, it's basically like wringing out a wet towel. Those thunderstorms and tropical convection gets orographically lifted, right? Orographic lift by mountains 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 feet tall, I believe are the tallest ones in Jamaica. And not only does that wring out even higher rainfall totals and more torrential rainfall totals in real time, it also adds literal gravity to the situation. So the minute you have mountains and slopes and you have communities and villages and towns and all that in vulnerable areas in floodplains at the bases of some of these mountains, and you have a rainfall as extreme as that, as extreme as what the National Hurricane Center, again, this isn't some scary GFS model run, this is the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. 20 to 30 inches of rainfall widespread with isolated totals of 40 plus inches. Okay, what that will do to those mountains is it can easily create a massive and catastrophic mudslides as well as flash flooding. And you're adding gravity, you're adding the ferocity. You're not just talking about, flash flood waters that are slowly rising up. You're talking about rushing violent torrents of water that can absolutely destroy whole towns if it's in the worst place at the worst time, basically, right? We definitely don't want that to happen, but it is a distinct possibility. Fast Eagle commenting, we now have a Cat 5 at landfall according to the last update. Yes. Absolutely catastrophic. But that is the breaking news right now, everyone. National Hurricane Center officially forecasting a Category 5 landfall. But so basically, this is just the rainfall threat. Of course, also Eastern Cuba and in Haiti. The good news is in Haiti, the totals have kind of come down from what we were initially expecting. Again, because Melissa has trended a little bit south and west, so not as much focus on Haiti, which is good because they, of course, are very prone to catastrophic flash flooding from tropical cyclones, whether they're weak or strong. A big part of that, not only because they're mountainous, but because the mountains there have been heavily deforested over the last few decades. So it's basically just a bunch of loose soil with no vegetation, no roots to tie it down. And that leads to much worse flash flooding and mudslides, as you could obviously imagine. So let's see if the National Hurricane Center, let's see if the NHC, yeah, here we go. So here's the latest cone. We just got in. The orange area is the extent of hurricane force winds. That's how far they extend out from the center. And the yellow is tropical storm force wind diameter. And right there. Or wait. Let's go to this one. Let's go to this cone. So right there, you're seeing it right now here. So this would indicate landfall at about 7 or 8 a.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. So Tuesday morning is when we are expecting landfall. And imagine that, right? The system is here. and she's only going to move this far by Tuesday morning. That is what is enabling the truly catastrophic elements of this. Anytime a hurricane is slow moving, it exacerbates everything: the rain, the wind, the surge, all of it. And that's exactly what's going on here. Really, Melissa is combining. This could be a true combination of all of the worst elements we look for in gauging a hurricane's potential impacts. Extremely violent winds of the maximum category, category 5, right? A category 5 landfall is now anticipated. Extreme rainfall because of a very slow and crawling forward speed, which also, too, in turn, creates an even bigger storm surge risk, because the longer those winds are pushing seawater over shore onto land, obviously the worse it gets. But there you have it right there. A Category 5 landfall, sustained winds of 160 miles per hour with potential gusts up to 195 miles per hour now being forecast. Looks like the core would take place near Paroti Beach. And obviously a lot of areas near that would get hammered by the eye wall. It's the eye wall that really matters. And this track and this forecast would just carve a path of absolute destruction across Jamaica. You cannot understate just how bad this is. Let me see if this updates here. I'm trying to post an update real quick. Fast Eagle commenting, I think they took into account the southern wobble on this last update. It may not be that far west. They should have went ahead and gave 150 mile per hour on this last update. The satellite is clearly worse. Satellite imagery is intensifying, and let me pull up a more advanced version. Holy cow, guys. Whoa. This is crazy. Okay, we are officially making a run for Cat 5 status here. Holy cow, look at this. Look at this. Oh, this is such a bad... Oh. Oh, wow, that is really sudden. That is really sudden. All right, give me a second here. Oh, wow. You can see that icy convection. A huge new plume. Okay, the eyewall merger is definitely completing right now, if not already completed. Definitely seeing a little bit of a southwest wobble here. But this is really, really bad. This is exactly what we feared. Like I said, it feels like every advisory, every new update we get, the situation just gets worse. All right, so I'm typing this update here. Wow, 39 people watching already, man. All right. While I type this up, drop a quick question. Chat, where are y'all watching from right now? Where is everyone watching from? Unorthodox Raj watching from Jamaica. Wow. Stay safe there, Raj. Ryan H watching from California. Oh, wow. Garuda Shen watching from the Gold Coast of Australia. Dang. That's pretty cool. Liberal Monarchist watching from Miami, very worried. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're all very worried. This is just the craziest thing I've ever seen. I mean, look at this satellite imagery. Cannot believe this. Fast Eagle watching from East Arkansas, Mississippi Delta. Deborah watching from Colorado. Oops. Holy cow. Laz Buffalo watching from Utah. Garuda Shen saying he's got family and friends living there, I think in Jamaica.
Post from @catastrophic. on the eye. Classic beginnings of an enveloped eye wall lightning signature.
Don Lightsay watching from Aspen. Oh man, this is so bad. Look at these cloud top temperatures. Fast Eagle commenting to Daruda to please make sure they are at least 16 meters above sea level. Prayers for your people there. Marcia Hulse, she says she is watching from Grand Cayman Island. Please let me know if we are safe. Oh, Grand Cayman? Yeah, so I'll give me a second here and I'll get to that real quick. I'll get to your question, Marcia. Oh. This is terrible. El Vergon watching from the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. Okay. Here we go. That is the breaking news here right now, guys. Melissa now officially forecast by the NHC to make landfall in Jamaica at Category 5 intensity. We're seeing a huge, all those pink colors, a huge burst of cold cloud tops really starting to resymmetrize the whole core. I mean, this just looks as bad as it possibly can get. I hate to say it, but it is not hyperbole, I don't think, at this point. We have been fearing the worst case scenario, and the closer we get to one, or I guess the closer we get to this potential landfall, the more realistic the worst case scenario seems to get, and that is never a good thing. Almost done here.
Post from National Hurricane Center. As of 11 p.m. Eastern Time, Major Hurricane Melissa, still currently 145 mile per hour Category 4. Conditions in Jamaica will continue to get much worse on Monday, peaking Monday night through Tuesday. Hurricane warnings in effect for Jamaica and eastern Cuba, with tropical storm warnings for Haiti. Catastrophic impacts are expected in Jamaica and Haiti, with potential catastrophic landslides for eastern Cuba. The hurricane is then forecasted to move through the southeast Bahamas on Wednesday.
Las Buffalo commenting, Jamaica, please take shelter and avoid coastal areas and landslide zones. Yes, very sound advice. Andre Blackwood says she is, or he is watching from Jamaica. Be very, very careful, please. Deborah commenting, Melissa is a monster. Stay safe, everyone. Yeah, so this is the worst case scenario. I mean, look at this. Look at the mess of vortices rippling through the eye wall. Look at how ferocious that is. Look at the buzzsaw appearance. Ugh. Look how bad I am at drawing here. But I just want to sum it up. Never try to draw with the trackpad. What if I misspell this? That would be really embarrassing. But here we are. Oh. Taco King commenting or watching from Leawood, Kansas. Gloria Jack asking, when is the eye wall expected to make landfall? We are expecting the eye wall to make landfall probably just before sunrise. So the eye wall will come ashore. The eye wall, which is the zone of strongest winds, that will probably come ashore. That will come ashore a little bit before the eye. So we are going to see the eye wall come ashore probably right before dawn on Tuesday morning. And that could be a Category 5 eye wall when it does. But so far right now we're looking at early Tuesday. Tuesday morning is when we're expecting landfall. Lauren Skippin watching from Toronto, Canada. Go Blue Jays. I'm just not a Dodgers fan. Patrick WX commenting, the next recon flight is going to have some very interesting observations. Yes. We're going to have to watch that closely for sure. John commenting, catastrophic loss of lives about to happen. Gosh, hopefully not, but it is not looking good. I'll get rid of that. So just look at this here up close. The eye and eye wall of Hurricane Melissa, the business end of the hurricane, and it does not get more ferocious than this, and I cannot emphasize that enough. The way you can actually see the rippling buzzsaw effect here throughout the eye wall, right? So that is the massive stadium effect. That's not really not terribly present right? Because it's not daytime, so we don't have visible imagery. But 100%, that is the stadium effect in action. And when you can see this buzzsawing effect, so I'll try to highlight that here, right? This is the eye wall right here, closely hugging the eye. And when you see that buzzsawing effect happening, you only get that in the most intensive hurricanes. And again, not to mention, look at how unbelievably, I mean, again, just incrementally, hour by hour, Melissa has been getting steadily more intense on satellite imagery, and she is now more intense than ever if you're going by what we're seeing right now. And I certainly think that once recon gets in there, the next recon flight, let's see when that is, by the way. But I'm certain when the next recon flight gets in there, we're going to see get some scary, scary readings. Juan Sanchez commenting, watching from Colombia, we suffered from side effects from Melissa earlier this week. Yes, the outer southern rain bands of Melissa actually affected Colombia, the northernmost parts of Colombia first. That was the first area really actually affected by Melissa. So let's see. Not tracking that recon flight yet, so we still have a ways to go. But this really is absolutely blood-chilling to me, maybe more so than the infrared satellite. So this is water vapor, and I honestly cannot recall having ever seen such an absolutely ferocious signature on water vapor. I mean, just look at this. So this right here, all these reds, this is extreme moisture content. Again, a big problem here, not just with the slow movement, not just having the intense central dense overcast, but what these exceptionally warm Caribbean waters are doing in addition to driving Melissa's winds to an extreme level, right? To a high-end Category 4, and then ultimately, as the forecast goes, Category 5 level are those warm waters, but they're also supporting very, very deep convection, right? So you would never get water vapor, like you would never get a water vapor signature like this in the open Atlantic. Or at a more northerly latitude, okay? So you are only getting this type of water pack convection, these intense cold clouds with the gravity waves just absolutely pinwheeling through them. I mean, look at this. Look at this buzzsaw effect. Okay, so this is all extreme moisture content that you would never see at a higher latitude. You can only get this in the Caribbean Sea and really the West Pacific. I mean, this is just absolutely nuts. And then all of this stuff, these oranges, this is different. So all these orange colors, that's vastly different. That is dry air, okay? So that is extremely dry and warm air. And when a hurricane's eye dries and warms from the subsidence, right? That's from the sinking air pushing down through the core. That is another sign of intensification. And this is definitely the driest I've seen Melissa's eye. Let's freeze this and check out the diameter, roughly. So roughly a 15 to 17 mile wide eye. But this is just off the charts. Andre Blackwood in Jamaica saying, I'm close to Spanish Town. The wind and rain is minimal at the moment. Yes, but make sure, remember, obviously, don't let that deceive you at any moment. So here's Jamaica. So the southernmost tip of Jamaica is currently about 80 miles, just 80 miles north of this potentially catastrophic eye wall of Hurricane Melissa. I mean, that's how close the storm already is. Obviously, as you can see, Jamaica is really only getting these outer frills. Not a lot of heavy rain here, not a ton of precipitation, kind of light rain, just like Andre is reporting here, just like he's saying. So not a lot of rain ongoing in Jamaica, but we are nowhere close to the beginning of the worst window of conditions. Fast Eagle commenting, yeah, I agree. This is about as bad as it can get. This is a once-in-a-generation storm for Jamaica. Beryl wasn't a direct hit. It's unprecedented. You know what, Fast Eagle? I'm going to come back to that comment in a moment because the historical precedent for Jamaica is actually pretty unusual. SDF asking, so do you think an eye wall replacement cycle will happen based on radar? Well, I discussed this at the opening of this live stream, SDF, and I honestly don't think that this is an eye wall replacement cycle. And I'm gonna have to look around, but if these new satellite indicators are any evidence, we are actually seeing pretty sound evidence that rather than an eye wall replacement cycle, Melissa has undergone an eye wall merger. So that's different than an eye wall replacement cycle. And in a replacement cycle, a rain band comes in, strengthens, intensifies into an outer eye wall, and chokes off the inner eye wall, sabotages it, and basically takes over the whole core. During that process, the hurricane's wind field will expand, yes, but it will also weaken the storm, at least temporarily, and kind of, you'll see the eye kind of cave in. Oh man, that is, again, off the charts. But anyway, so during a replacement cycle, you will see a weakening phase where the whole core is disrupted. But we did not see that with Melissa here. With Melissa, radar seems to indicate, and the ongoing satellite presentation seems to indicate that instead, an eye wall merger is taking place. And an eye wall merger, as it suggests, is when the outer eye wall comes in and combines with the inner eye wall. Rather than choking it off and killing it, it combines with the inner eye wall to become this bigger, stronger beast, more symmetrical, more organized usually. Eye wall mergers are rarer than replacement cycles, but they can happen, and it seems to be happening here. Sean asking, is Melissa going to be a Category 5? And every indication, I would bet almost certainly yes, Sean. And honestly, that has been the case here for a while. I've been saying for the last couple days, and most people have, like, it almost seems more likely than not that Melissa is going to become a Category 5. And what's worse, the National Hurricane Center now, for the first time ever, is forecasting Melissa to make landfall in Jamaica at Category 5 intensity. So I would say, with a higher certainty than I almost ever could, yes.
Post from @Cyclonic WX. As recon leaves, Melissa's satellite presentation once again improves. Lots of new bursting around the eye wall and another cooling of the CDO. Look at these gravity waves going outwards. Suggests a strengthening storm, but satellite trends haven't totally agreed with recon observations lately.
Best Eagle commenting, Andre, I pray you're somewhere safe. Power could be out for over a month. Praying for y'all, my friend. Leia Solomon asking, did the eye move southwest? Yes, we are seeing a little bit of a near-term jog here. So let's look at that. So here's a satellite loop from Meteo Red. And, oh, wait, it's kind of, here, it's kind of, I'll do it like that. So there you can see, when overlaid with the cone, definitely seeing a little bit of a southwest jog here in the last few frames for Melissa. $87 people here watching. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and feel free to leave a comment, ask questions. We'd love to answer people's questions if you have any. All right, so someone else asked, earlier. Let's go back to windy here. All right, so someone asked earlier, and here's another question from Laish, asking, any chance Melissa heads to the Cayman Islands, which are over here, located over here. And luckily for the Cayman Islands, Laish, I would say no. There is basically no chance that Melissa is going to head to the Cayman Islands. There you can see her cone. Not even close to the Cayman Islands. Way, way, way far off to the east. And even if Melissa takes the westernmost edge of her cone, even that would be far from the Cayman Islands. So, fortunately for them, not expecting any direct impacts from Melissa. She is definitely locked in on Jamaica at this juncture. But take a look, too. This is what we're seeing here. Look at the lightning activity in the eye wall, guys. Look at this lightning activity. So, again, this increase, those little specks of lightning, especially there in the last couple frames. Huge burst there in the northeast quadrant. That is a telltale sign, honestly, that the eye wall merger has completed and that we're seeing a big round of intensification coming up. There is... Oh, man. I mean, just look at this storm. Look at this hurricane. It is completely unhinged at this point. But all of that lightning activity is really concerning me. But mostly putting these two satellite images up, infrared and water vapor, frame by frame. That is what scares me the most, and I'm telling you, it does not get much more ferocious than this. And what you're seeing on your screen right now. Fast Eagle commenting, the Cayman Islands will largely be spared from Hurricane Melissa's worst impacts, facing mainly windy conditions, gusty winds through Wednesday, rough seas, waves over 10 feet, Monday, Tuesday, and possible localized heavy rain flooding if the track shifts west. No direct hit expected as the storm targets Jamaica. Thank you, Fast Eagle. That was a really comprehensive rundown of what we're expecting in the Cayman Islands. Lionel W commenting, new plane just took off, probably arrives within 2 hours. All right, so recon is heading in, and we are definitely going to be tracking that to see what they find in this absolute monster. About a 16-mile wide eye, intensifying as we speak. This just really seems like the eye wall merger has completed. We were contemplating this earlier. WX Cookie saying hi. Fast Eagle commenting, please remember to like also. Thank you, Fast Eagle. Yeah, already 20 likes on this stream. That's crazy. Thank you so much, you guys. That's crazy. And wow, 101 people watching. I think that's the most we've ever had watching on one of our on a Back Perch weather stream. So the problem here with Hurricane Melissa is that now that she has apparently completed that eye wall merger. Okay, remember, merger is completely different than an eye wall replacement cycle, which is much more common. An eye wall merger is when, instead of destroying the inner eye wall and taking over for itself, the outer eye wall actually merges with the inner eye wall to become this brand new monstrosity. Stronger, more organized, more symmetrical usually, and we are seeing exactly that. All of a sudden here, in the last 30 minutes, Hurricane Melissa's central dense overcast has rapidly symmetrized and rapidly cooled down. There you see the temperature is beyond negative. Okay, so here we go. So what are these coldest cloud tops here in the central dense overcast? Negative 118, pretty much negative 119 Fahrenheit. And so it's maxing out the scale. You are getting peak cold cloud top temperatures right now. And you are looking at an unbelievably terrifying buzzsaw spin of the eye wall and the stadium effect around what was a 933 millibar eye when we last checked. And I fear that once that recon plane samples this eye and gets in there, that we're going to find something much, much more intense. Denton Palmer commenting, I'm from Jamaica, Clarendon, Sedge Pond District. We all are praying for our friends and family and everyone. God bless. Thank you so much for the message, Denton Palmer. Yeah, and remember, like, the seriousness, the gravity of this situation cannot be understated because of all these factors that are coming into play. So let's consider this for a moment, right? So what really are we dealing with here? What's the location, right? So we're dealing with Jamaica up here, but let me pull it up here. So Jamaica is the area that is getting hit. The important things to note about this island is that we have big-time mountains in the interior, and we also have high population centers on the coastline, like Kingston, like Portmore, that are only, in some areas, a few feet above sea level. So let's just consider these things for a second. We have an island of 2.8 million people. That is the population of Jamaica, if I'm not mistaken. Just want to get that right. Yeah, 2.8 million people live on this tiny, usually beautiful, but not for the next 48 hours because of Melissa, but usually beautiful Paradise Caribbean island. 2.8 million people. So it's very high population. It has high density population centers next to the coast in bowl-shaped, see how this is kind of bowl-shaped? Bowl-shaped inlets and bays where you have large amounts of people and man-made infrastructure only a few feet above sea level. Again, not everywhere, but in some areas. And then the interior of the island is extremely mountainous with 5,000 to 7,000 foot tall peaks. When you couple that, so here's a topography map of Jamaica. When you couple that with the fact that you have a very slow-moving, potentially Category 5 hurricane, a hurricane of the maximum intensity, and you combine all these factors, right? So the slow movement is going to exacerbate everything, the winds, the surge, the rain. But obviously, the main focus is the rain when it comes to the slow movement. And here I'll show, this is not some far-flung GFS fantasy run. This is the National Hurricane Center. They're calling for widespread totals, still to come, by the way, still to come. This is not counting what's already fallen, of 20 to 30 inches. That's 500 to 750 millimeters. With isolated totals of 30 plus to 40 plus inches or 750 plus millimeters possible in the most mountainous regions due to orographic lift. where the steep topography can wring out the thunderstorms like a wet towel. That can, and if it does, likely will cause catastrophic flash flooding and mudslides. Also, that potential exists in Haiti and Cuba as well. Just because the rainfall amounts are not as extreme doesn't mean that exceptionally dangerous landslide risk does not exist. But Jamaica is certainly the main focus here. Cookie Death commenting, recon soon, a big ring of cold cloud tops around the eye. That is exactly what we're watching here right now. I mean, I'm just at a loss for words. It does not... Satellite presentations rarely get more extreme than this in the Atlantic, guys. Cookie Death commenting, recon soon, a big ring of cold... oh, wait. Sorry, I thought I pressed it. There is the new comment from Cookie Death. Commenting, wouldn't be surprised if we see a 920 millibar ring. Oh, yeah, reading. And to that, I say absolutely. Construction Meds asking, what do you think the storm surges will look like for White House? White House? In Westmoreland. Okay, so White House, Westmoreland, Jamaica. Oh, wow. That is not... Let's go to the map here. So there's White House. And that... Look, if you're in White House in Westmoreland... you are in a very, very serious situation. So, Westmoreland up here is, so let's see, right? Okay, yeah. So Westmoreland up here, not exactly forecast. The last advisory does not explicitly have the eye going directly over Westmoreland, but it doesn't have to get the eye wall. Now, I think in this scenario, the eye wall would technically miss, but it would be very close. So if you're in White House in Westmoreland, I mean, heed all orders and advice from officials, but definitely watch this really closely. I'd be really concerned there because there's a very real potential. If there's any westward shift at all, and there has been a westward shift lately, if Melissa keeps shifting west, then Westmoreland could take a direct hit from a potential Category 5 hurricane. I mean, that is no joking matter. In terms of storm surge, I haven't seen official maps, but the storm surge definitely 9+ feet. I would honestly, especially if you're to the... Now, of course, look, if... I don't want to advise anyone not to worry, and I don't want to say this if it makes someone get under the wrong impression. But technically, if you're on the western side of the storm, the onshore flow will actually be pushing water out or pulling water out rather than pushing it in. So you actually might get a negative surge in some places instead of one that's pushing up against shore like you're going to see on the eastern side. But I cannot emphasize enough, don't use that. Don't use that really as comfort, okay? Anywhere on the southern coastline of Jamaica, and there's, this track and shift, it may be shifting as we speak. Anywhere on the southern coastline of Jamaica has a chance for 9+ foot storm surge. I would just be ready for that in terms of knowing where you are and what elevation you're at. Gracie asking, when is the next recon? Coming in 1 to 2 hours. Gracie. Let me check where that flight is exactly for you. So it has taken off, but it is going to be a little bit. SDF coming, no EWRC. This is going sub 900 millibars. Ooh, that's bold. That's very bold. And that would definitely be really, really bad. Hopefully not. But there's that chance. Okay, so in terms of what is tonight and early tomorrow going to look like, the thing is, you're looking at this hurricane. She's moving so slowly. I mean, she is just absolutely crawling 3 to 5 miles per hour. And she might actually get a little bit slower than that right before she makes her turn to the north towards Jamaica, which could honestly go down in the record books as an absolutely catastrophic turn when that happens. But the thing is, this area of the Western Caribbean, these waters that Melissa is sitting over, you can see the results right now. But the fact of the matter is, she is sitting over an area of an extremely high oceanic heat content. Oceanic heat content is different than sea surface temperatures. Oceanic heat content is telling you how deep those warm waters are. So normally, in this kind of situation, where you had a major hurricane moving slowly, this slowly, over a same area of water, you would have what's called upwelling. And upwelling is when a hurricane churns up the ocean, right? All this chaos turns up the ocean and basically draws up colder waters from deeper depths in the ocean up to the surface, which then, of course, starts to stifle the hurricane because hurricanes are powered by warm water. The problem here in this specific area of the Caribbean is that there are basically no colder waters to upwell. The oceanic heat content is so extreme that that viably warm waters, right? Waters that are viable enough to support tropical cyclone intensification almost go down to the sea floor, basically. Not literally, yes, but basically. So Melissa essentially has an endless supply. So there's not going to be any upwelling there, and models have picked up on this for a long time, really since the beginning. And it introduces this factor that we call maximum potential intensity. So this is a scientific value, a physics value that we do not talk about very often at all with tropical cyclones. It's extremely rare when we bring up MPI, maximum potential intensity. But basically what MPI is telling you the maximum strength a hurricane can get over a certain oceanic heat content, right? That's what MPI is. That's what maximum potential intensity is telling you. Now, storms even over waters that are capable of, producing maximum potential intensity don't usually actually reach it, of course. They almost never do, because the atmospheric and environmental conditions have to be literally just as perfect as mathematically possible to actually support a run for maximum potential intensity. So it almost never happens. It happened with Milton, though. It did happen with Milton last year. So we have a very recent example. Milton was an example where he literally pretty much peaked at the mathematical limit of what those... So he was in the Gulf, right? Milton was in the Gulf last year. Milton peaked at the absolute mathematical limit of how strong a storm could get based off those water temperatures in the Gulf, right? You really theoretically couldn't get any stronger than Milton was based on the water temperatures he was over. So that was extremely rare to see something like that. Unfortunately, though, as crazy as it sounds, just a year later and also in the Atlantic, we could see that same situation here with Melissa, where her slow movement and the extreme depth and the basically endless supply of rocket fuel, of nuclear tropical rocket fuel here in the Caribbean, basically can allow her to go all the way up to the maximum potential intensity, barring any internal structural changes. Now, does that mean it's likely to happen? No, it's still less likely than not that she's going to reach MPI. But if she gets anywhere close to MPI, and the conditions around her are basically perfect for that, not just the sea surface temperatures, but jet divergence to her north, which is helping to ventilate the storm. That's very important when looking at extreme cases of rapid intensification, like we saw today. But also there's an anticyclone, an upper atmospheric anticyclone over this whole general area as well. So really, the conditions couldn't get more favorable, and that's the problem. So there is really no limit to what Hurricane Melissa can accomplish, and the only way that she starts weakening is through her own doing, and by that I mean internal structural processes, right? A core collapse, an eye wall, and the onset of an eye wall replacement cycle. That's really, though, the only thing that can stop her, and that is truly frightening.
Post from @Echo5550. Melissa has really hit the gas in trying to reach Category 5. Its entire eye wall is now reaching cloud tops of -80 to -90 Celsius. The NHC called for a Cat 5 landfall in Jamaica on Tuesday morning. A new Air Force flight has just taken off. We should get some new knowledge soon.
All right, you heard it there. Recon is en route. Lionel W. talking about satellite estimates here. Getting a final value of 150 knots. It's about 170 miles per hour. So right now, guys, holy cow. Right now, satellite estimates, this is not official. But satellite estimates based on Melissa's structure and appearance right here, based on this insane buzzsaw. I mean, look at what I'm talking about here, this eye wall. Look at that buzzsaw whirling, right? Look at that buzzsaw spin of the inner core and eye wall surrounded by these this is bitterly cold cloud tops, colder than really Melissa's had all day. That is what is giving us these crazy values, like 170 miles per hour. So satellite estimates, just going by off satellite appearance alone, is going 170 miles per hour. Now, again, it's important to note that the previous recon missions today that investigated the storm and found her to be weaker than those satellite estimates at the time. So you can't go by those verbatim. So really, we're just going to wait for recon to get in there, but that's going to be super interesting when that happens. Fast Eagle commenting, I'd assume a 13-foot surge construction forecast for you is 9 to 13 feet. Yeah, the 9 to 13 feet really seems to be kind of the broad expectation for the southern coast of Jamaica. But again, it could absolutely be higher than that if you take into account the possibility that Melissa could be a Category 5 landfall and a slow-moving one at that. Okay, now, also talking about the storm surge, I want to talk about this, the historical precedent for Jamaica a little bit. Because, yes, they're a Caribbean island, and they have been doing preparations, okay? So they are preparing for the storm as best as they can. However, Jamaica has a very interesting history with hurricanes. So you might expect that being a Caribbean island, that Jamaica would have all these sorts of recorded landfalls, right? hurricanes and major hurricanes. But, and I think this is kind of a byproduct of the island shape, the way that it's kind of a narrow island in the Caribbean Sea, kind of helps with this. But when we actually look at the official NOAA database, and I cover all of Jamaica here, and we search up every record of every major hurricane that's ever made landfall in Jamaica that we know of since 1851. Look at this. Look how few results there are. An unnamed Cat 3 in 1903, another unnamed Category 3 in 1912, and that is a really funky track because it looks like that storm actually made landfall in Jamaica as like a Cat 2 and then became a Cat 3 while over land. That's pretty weird. And then Charlie in 1951 made landfall near Kingston again as a Cat 3. And then Gilbert made landfall almost in the same spot as a high in Cat 3, low in Cat 4, high in Cat 3. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. Gilbert is our last result here on the official NOAA database. So the island of Jamaica has not been directly hit with a major hurricane since 1988. That was 37 years ago. That is a really long time. And yes, while Jamaica's infrastructure has certainly improved from the time that Gilbert made landfall, Melissa here is looking to be just magnitude stronger than Gilbert. But let's talk about Gilbert. So that's we don't have much precedent to go on, but what precedent do we have? Gilbert, being the last major hurricane 37 years ago to make landfall in Jamaica, was also considered their worst in modern history, claiming, I think it was like 40 plus fatalities he claimed on the island, a 19-foot storm surge, and I think 20 to 30 inches of rain. And he was not moving slow like Melissa is. Gilbert was moving fast and also moving parallel across the island, right? He was booking it, right? So he wasn't slowly crawling. So Gilbert was devastating for Jamaica. And I'm usually hesitant to draw comparisons, especially when it's some location's worst storm, right? I'm usually hesitant to draw comparisons at all to a specific area's worst storm and say this current storm is like, oh, hey, this is going to be like as bad or worse, especially when so many people are still alive who experienced that previous worst storm, and who may still, have lingering trauma from it. But I don't think it's really an exaggeration at all. And again, it doesn't mean, fingers crossed, right? We're all praying, hoping that, of course, Melissa does not claim as many lives as Gilbert did, right? But in terms of like damage, I don't think it's a question. We're verging on the point where it's no longer a question that Melissa is going to be more damaging than Gilbert was. And that is a really sinister prospect. So again, doesn't mean we're going to see the loss of life that we did with Gilbert, but the potential is absolutely there because of that 13 plus foot storm surge, especially on the southeast coast where you have these bays and inlets. That's really what I'm concerned about most. Honestly, when you take a look at it, when you take a look at this track, this Category 5 landfall track, as of, this was about an hour ago, we got this National Hurricane Center update. This is kind of the very close to the true worst case scenario that we worry about here with Hurricane Melissa, because that would put these bowl-shaped bays on the southeastern coast of Jamaica in the worst position for storm surge, right? That's on the northeast quadrant, right? So if you can imagine here, if I run this forward, this is, right, well, I actually won't use that model as an example because that kind of takes Melissa really far west, and that absolutely can happen. But I'll just wait on that. But basically, what I'm trying to illustrate here, maybe we'll go to pressure. But what I'm trying to illustrate here is that you can see there on this northeastern quadrant where the flow is, right? Where the flow of the winds are. So, you know, this is kind of an extreme western solution that would definitely be good for southeast Jamaica. Again, this is not an official forecast at all, guys. This is just a model run here. But basically, everything is close to a worst case scenario because with the storm surge. Because look, so even though again this is kind of a westerly solution, the onshore flow, these little indicators of the wind, they're pushing directly into these bowl-shaped bays and these low elevation bays here in southeast Jamaica, which also happen to have some of the highest population centers on the entire island.
Technique. By the way, post by @WeatherTrackUS. Advanced Dvorak technique isn't perfect, but it gives us some idea of how intense a storm may be based on satellite. Without active recon analysis, which we'll be getting within the next hour or two, T7.5 puts Melissa at 155 knots with a pressure of 905 millibars. This may be a bit aggressive, but this satellite presentation is just not the look of Category 4.
Holy cow. All right, guys, so satellite estimates are going off the charts. We're going to have to wait for official confirmation from Recon. But yeah, so again, just looking at the storm surge potential, the way you have some of this, so here's the population density of Jamaica, and that's what you really worry about, right? A direct Category 5 landfall, of course, anywhere, right? Anyone who gets impacted by this, that is a really bad solution. But we're not, it's an unavoidable solution. So when we're trying to gauge, overall impacts, where would the worst be for overall impacts? Well, it would be over here in the east where you have the higher population centers, where that onshore flow, where that storm surge could be pushing directly onshore. Again, we got to monitor all the shifts, see exactly where Melissa's making landfall. But basically, if she were to make like a last-second eastward jog and make landfall somewhere around here, that to me would be the worst or right here, like right over Old Harbor, or right here. Like this, right here, this would be like the absolute worst-case scenario. Because it would have a direct, like the northeast quadrant, which also sometimes is the strongest quadrant, would have direct onshore flow right into Kingston. And that would be really, really bad. And of course, everywhere the eye wall goes, if it's a Category 5 eye wall, there's no question that everywhere that eye wall goes, like everything's going to be destroyed. Okay, you're going to have catastrophic damage and total loss of basic infrastructure. I mean, this is some really crazy, and I'm not exaggerating whatsoever. I mean, this is really super serious, guys. And when we look at the National Hurricane Center's official wording, take a look at this wording. Jamaica, right? So these are the key messages for Jamaica, is to seek shelter now. And they've been saying this since last night. Damaging winds and heavy rainfall tonight and Monday will cause catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding and numerous landslides before potentially devastating winds. So that's referencing the eye wall, the direct landfall. And winds arrive Monday night and Tuesday morning. Extensive infrastructural damage, long-duration power and communication outages, and isolation of communities are expected. Life-threatening storm surge and damaging waves are expected along portions of the southern coast Monday night and Tuesday morning. Do you hear that language? That is as dire as it gets from the National Hurricane Center, okay? That is absolutely terrifying. And you are not talking about just a bad hurricane impact anymore, right? The NHC is talking about a borderline humanitarian crisis and disaster of aftermath in the wake of Melissa's landfall. Holy cow. So we have 220 people watching the stream right now. That is by far the most ever. Thank you everyone for watching, for tuning in, for liking the stream. Also to note, this is not the only live stream we will be doing. Okay, Back Perch Weather will continue. We'll do another live stream probably tomorrow evening and night. And then of course we are going to be live for Melissa's landfall into Jamaica. Also Cuba after the fact as well. But obviously our focus is on Jamaica right now. So we are going to go live again. We're going to be pretty much hosting live coverage here throughout this entire event, not just here like a live stream on X and YouTube, but also just on our X feed at Back Perch Crew. So if you want like continuous, like really frequent, basically hour-to-hour updates of the storm's progress, follow us there at Back Perch Crew on X. And then you can find our live streams there and also here on our YouTube channel at Back Perch Weather Live. Again, we will be going live tomorrow. And then the next day for landfall. And what we aim to do, here we're discussing what's going on with the hurricane while it's out at sea, right? We're looking at the real-time trends. What we hope to do during the landfall is funnel in and bring you guys, all the reports we can find, across X, across social media, right? I'm like gonna, read through it in real time and try to figure out like exactly what the situation is on the ground. And any storm chaser footage, we can't show that here, but I will tell you if I find storm chaser footage, I'll tell you, and then I'll show you how to get to it if you're curious as to what conditions are looking like on the ground. And also, of course, just like we're doing here, answering questions and kind of just doing Q&A and commentary. Really love when people comment on the stream, especially like where they're from, if they're experiencing the storm, but also if they're just curious and like just want to talk about the science of this and what's going on in real time. Susan Sack asking, when should Melissa hit Jamaica? So if we go here, again, this is all official. This is all National Hurricane Center. Susan, we are looking at a landfall possibly at Category 5 strength, the maximum category, just before or really right at sunrise on Tuesday, October 28th. So that is when landfall, as of the last National Hurricane Center advisory, that's when landfall is scheduled. Zen Numbers commenting, whoa, I am new to this channel. Whoa, Melissa's going nuts, Cat 5. Yeah, I think Cat 5 is almost certainly coming here, you guys. Gloria Jack asking kind of an interesting question. We decided to stay during Cat 5 Hurricane Ian, says in 2022. Was told it would pass over in a couple hours, but it stalled over us for 9 hours with Cat 5 winds. Why did that happen? Well, I don't know who... I don't know. That's kind of a tricky question because it depends on where exactly you were for Hurricane Ian. So maybe the initial forecast was that Ian was going to pass over you in a couple hours, and then maybe you got trapped in either maybe the southern portion of the eyeball. I don't know exactly where you are in Florida. If you didn't hit the eye and you actually kind of got in the southern quadrant of Ian's eyewall, or the northern quadrant for that matter, that could result in a longer duration winds. But Ian definitely was a very slow-moving storm, only moving at about 8, 9, 10 miles per hour when he made landfall. And that, of course, is what made him such a catastrophic storm. I mean, Hurricane Ian's like the third, fourth costliest weather disaster in world history at $113 billion. Had the huge storm surge, and then not quite Cat 5 winds. Ian did peak as Cat 5 over water. He weakened just a little bit slightly down, but still high in Cat 4 when he made landfall in Florida. And it was his slow movement that exacerbated all the effects, the wind, the rainfall, and the surge. And that is a great parallel to, obviously not perfect or exact. I mean, the locations are completely different. The situation is different. But basically, the gist of it is when you have a Category 5 hurricane of a high intensity moving this slowly, it's not just that the winds over wherever he makes landfall is going to last longer. It's not just that the surge is going to be higher because it's getting pushed in for a longer duration of time, but it's also the rainfall is going to be heavier because of the slow motion. And something that's often forgot with Ian is the massive amount of inland flooding it caused with huge swaths of inland rainfall over the Florida Peninsula. Fast Eagle again commenting, close to Port San Antonio is your best bet, but I'm looking at the second part of her question here, which is about the rain totals will be more at the higher elevations though, so be careful. Yeah, that's again another extremely dangerous element that's making this so bad is the fact that Jamaica is so mountainous, and that's why the NHC has here these extreme rainfall totals piled up here. And if maybe we can get a different animation of that. Or is this showing it? This might not be showing it. Is that rain accumulation? Wow. Well, that's not right at all. That icon, okay, so that model run is not displaying an accurate reading. So much for that. But don't listen to that. Listen to this, right? So here's the National Hurricane Center's official rainfall total, rain still to come. And that's really bad. Widespread 20 to 30 inches. Really, the whole island could see 16 to 20 inches at least in a very short amount of time. You're right. You're talking about like 48 hours. And then in the mountains, the higher the mountains you go, the worse the orographic lift can become, and the more torrential the rainfall rates can get. And so that's where you're getting the potential for 30, 40 plus inches of rain. Absolutely unfathomable. Again, Melissa really could combine all of the worst elements that you can imagine with a hurricane. The winds, the rain, the surge, all of it is top tier bad. Oh, looks like we have a new update coming in here. Let's see what it is. I think, do we have a new update? Perhaps not. Thought we might have. Liberal Monarchist asking, what is your best assessment for Montego Bay with the current information?
At Vortex WX. If I were to tell you this was a typhoon in the Philippine Sea, I would have believed you. But Melissa has very close cloud tops completely surrounding the eye. Hopefully, recon leaving Krakow will see what the intensity is.
Okay. Yeah, so a lot of comments. So about Montego Bay. So they are up here on the north west side of Jamaica, and again, there's a lot of variance here that will heavily depend on Melissa's track, right? So obviously, I mean, there's still a viable scenario, especially when you look at the cone. Well, that's not a good one because I can't zoom in on it. But when you look at the cone, and the cone, remember the cone is not telling you where the impacts are going to be limited to. It's telling you all the potential areas that the hurricane center can track. So Montego Bay could actually still, in the cards for them, get a direct hit from the eye wall if we see a westward shift in Melissa's track. So it's really going to depend heavily on, you could see some backside storm surge right at the storm. So again, it's going to depend entirely on how close Melissa's core gets to Montego Bay, right? If it's spinning like this, the counterclockwise motion, and if the eye wall goes directly over Montego Bay, you're going to have a lot of wind damage, but possibly devastating wind damage because there's not going to be that much time to fully weaken from the south coast to the north coast as Melissa crosses the island. But once she gets over, even if it's slightly to the east of Montego Bay, once she's over the Caribbean waters to the north of Jamaica, then you could see some storm surge wrap around, right, from maybe the southwest quadrant, right, forcing storm surge into Montego Bay. Again, that's not the area of highest concern right now. But of course, again, it's one of the higher population centers for Jamaica, and it is next to the water. So they need to watch the storm's progress carefully. Again, the severity of their impacts will depend heavily on where Melissa's core ultimately goes. And even though we're less than what are we, just over like 24? Yeah, we're like 30-ish hours away from landfall. Then you're looking at sorry, I lost my train of thought. 30-ish hours away from landfall, and we still have this kind of variance in the cone where literally almost the entire island of Jamaica, except for maybe the further easternmost edges, is in play for direct landfall. And it will matter, even though the rain problem is across all of the island, is going to be a problem and potentially cause flash flooding really everywhere. Although it is interesting to see at Montego Bay, maybe they'll avoid the worst of the rain. But again, this is heavily, heavily dependent on where Melissa's center goes. It does matter where her eye wall comes ashore and where it tracks over, because that relatively narrow area contained inside the eye wall, that's where the absolute worst and most catastrophic damage, it's going to be catastrophic if Melissa comes in as a Cat 5, is going to occur within that radius of the eye wall. So that is a thing that we're going to be watching super, super closely. Gabby Lee is asking, and this is a very good question, people have been saying this looks similar to a West Pacific hurricane. What makes it look like that? Very good question, Gabby. So the reason people are saying that, the reason I would say that, is because the West Pacific is the most active tropical cyclone basin in the world, right? It's generally has not necessarily warmer waters than what's in the Caribbean, but it's like the Caribbean Sea 5 times bigger. So obviously you can get a lot larger and more powerful storms there, and there are also a bunch of other factors. There are atmospheric factors in play. The average sea level pressure over the West Pacific is lower than it is in the Atlantic, which also makes the overall conditions more favorable for tropical cyclogenesis. But basically, the West Pacific is the most favorable basin in the world for tropical cyclones to form and intensify in. The most powerful storms in history have all come from the West Pacific. The reason that people are saying that is because of how cold the cloud tops are with Melissa. See, usually Atlantic hurricanes don't have as cold as cloud tops as what we're looking at here, right? You see these silvers and pinks? These silvers and pinks are very West Pacific-like because cloud tops like that, right? The higher and deeper and more extreme these thunderstorms reach up into the atmosphere, the colder they're going to get. You usually see the pinks and the silvers, especially in this uniform fashion in an intense hurricane, in the West Pacific, because the storms are more intense over there on average, whereas in the Atlantic, you usually have a little bit warmer convection. Even if the winds are just as crazy as maybe a West Pacific typhoons. Generally, the cloud tops are not quite as cold. But what we're seeing with Melissa here, that there is a window and an area for storms in the Atlantic to get typhoon-like, right? To get West Pacific-like, and that is the Caribbean Sea, but namely the Western Caribbean Sea, and Melissa is 100% taking advantage of that. Is also to note that even though Hurricane Gilbert, the last major hurricane to hit Jamaica in 1988, even though he hit Jamaica as a Category 3, after hitting Jamaica, he went on to become he was at the time the most intense Atlantic hurricane in recorded history, and is still the second most intense, only surpassed by Hurricane Wilma. And that occurred in basically the same waters that Melissa is doing this in. So the Western Caribbean is really the rare area in the Atlantic where you can get typhoon-like West Pacific kind of signatures, like you're seeing with Melissa here. All right, we have a couple more questions, but real quick, let me post an update. Let me post another update here real fast because we are just seeing some absolutely crazy intensification right now. I mean, holy cow. Posting an update here. Again, if you're just joining us, thank you for tuning in to Back Perch Weather's live coverage here, live update tonight of Hurricane Melissa. We will be doing another live stream tomorrow, or however many it takes. We're going to be live the whole time during Melissa's landfall in Jamaica. And we're also going to be providing we're going to be posting continuous updates at a much more frequent basis, at a very frequent kind of hour by hour basis on our X feed at Back Perch Crew. So go follow us there for continued updates. And we are live both on X and YouTube when we host these live streams. Fast Eagle commenting, the east end of the island floods easily. I'd get out of there. It floods all the time. The northeast corner close to Port San Antonio is about as good as it gets. Yeah, and what Fast Eagle is commenting on with that flood potential on the east side of the island is in big part due to the extremely mountainous nature, right? All these, let me zoom out, the mountains over here on the east end of the island where you can get the water rushing down these rivers and gullies, and oh man, it's really bad. I mean, you just have so many areas, I mean, Kingston included, but so many different areas that are in for this. I mean, we could very well have catastrophic flooding from both the ocean, right? So coming in from the ocean and then coming towards the ocean inland from the mountains and the rainfall simultaneously. And that is really scary to think about. To have catastrophic flooding coming in both directions potentially here. But really, all of Jamaica has a very big time, very serious flood potential. And that could be exploited here, unfortunately, in a tragic way. Because Melissa is aiming to make a direct hit on this island. And again, the National Hurricane Center now forecasting that direct hit to occur at Category 5 intensity. So at the start of the stream, we basically asked, there was a lot of mysterious kind of dynamics, internal dynamics going on with Melissa's structure, and we asked, what is she doing, right? What is going on? What is happening? Well, the answer is conclusive now, even though we don't have recon, and let me check it where recon is coming in. And they're now getting into the periphery of the storm, maybe a little bit. So that's going to be very interesting to see. But any moment now, recon is going to investigate the system, and we're going to see just how much stronger she's gotten. Iwaltopia commenting, bro, someone send recon back in there. She's got to be a 5. I mean, it just looks like it, right? She's honestly kind of looked like a 5 earlier today, too. But now this is, you're really getting into just this over-the-top extreme intensification. Cookie Death commenting, Milton's MPI was crazy. Oh, yeah. MPI, which stands for maximum potential intensity, the theoretical and mathematical limit of how strong a hurricane can get over a particular area of warm ocean water. William correctly commenting, landfall Monday night through Tuesday morning with a bias on Tuesday. Six Zeros asking, when does recon take off? Recon has taken off. 6 Zeros, they're en route. They're just now entering the periphery of the storm, I believe. Let's see. Where's recon, like, in relation to these satellite images? I think... down here. I think, yeah, they're still a ways away. So recon is still quite a ways away. Recon flight, or the next Hurricane Hunter flight is like about right here in this area right now. So still a ways to go before they reach the storm's core. 6 Zeros also commenting 165 miles per hour right now, in my opinion. That's a very solid guess. Fast Eagle, 12 to 1 a.m. on the next recon update. Yep. And we are going to be we're going to be watching that update very closely, and we're going to be posting what the hurricane hunters are finding in the core in real time. So we're definitely going to be watching 100%. The recon is still a ways away. Still 280 miles from the core. Cookie Death saying, holy cow, in all caps. Six Zeros asking, ever so slight jog to the south? Yes. And this is something we were looking at earlier. So I've got this video here from meteored.com. By the way, here's our X feed. So again, anyone, if you're watching from YouTube and don't already follow us on X, we do this with tropical cyclones all the time, and definitely with a storm like Melissa, this absolutely dire, potentially catastrophic situation. We're going to be hosting continuous live coverage of this hurricane as she gets closer to Jamaica, but particularly on our X feed here at Back Perch Crew. Our live streams are here, but we also do these posts, these continual updates, really kind of hour by hour sort of stuff, tracking the storm's progress. So here we go. So in this video from meteored.com, which is a little outdated now, this is a little over an hour ago, but you can see here where that slight southwest jog, that little hurricane icon, and then the eye, of course, itself, taking that little bit of a slight westward jog, which is why we've seen some tiny westward shifts in the forecast cone in terms of where Melissa could strike Jamaica. And it really, really, really matters exactly where Melissa's eye wall comes ashore, especially if she's at Category 5 intensity. Once again, I want to thank everyone for watching our stream here. This is by far our most watched stream ever. 225 people watching the stream right now. Holy cow. This distance right here is how far the next hurricane hunter's reconnaissance plane is to the storm's core. And this is just, again, I've been saying it for days. Many have been saying it for days. This is the worst case scenario unfolding in real time. Jamaica is right here. And it's just... It's just when you combine all the worst elements of a hurricane, a Category 5 making landfall with 160 mile per hour winds, maybe, which will be confined to our eye wall, so total devastation wherever that eye wall tracks across the island. But then on the north, especially on the eastern quadrant, but again, everywhere in southern Jamaica is going to have a chance for life-threatening storm surge, but especially on the northeast quadrant. Funnels the water in. So you're looking at 9, 13. This is rough. Feet. Surge. That's saltwater flooding near coastal areas. A lot of high population centers not sitting terribly high above sea level. And then on top of all that, because of the slow movement, you have the rain feeding into the mountains of Jamaica. +30 inches of rain. And this is where, again, just everything is lining up to be an absolute worst case scenario. Doesn't matter which way you shake it. We the people coming. I was in Puerto Rico during Hurricane Maria. Run for your life. Jamaica is a similar island. Yeah, I don't want to make that comparison, but definitely worrying. Especially since, Maria was very close to Cat 5 intensity. She was a high in Cat 4, and I'm not saying, obviously, that this is going to be anything like Hurricane Maria, right? Hurricane Maria was an unbelievable catastrophe of historic proportions. So I don't want to make that comparison, but this is a rare scenario where you have that kind of really scary potential. So real quick here, I'm going to post that update, latest update, on my X feed at Backperch Crew. $267 people watching the stream right now. Wow. Best Eagle summing it up. Here, let me get this mess off the screen. See, Jamaica only just barely getting starting to see some of those showers and heavier rains here on the very southern edge of the coastline as the very outer edges of Melissa's CDO starts to come ashore. Fast Eagle coming. Jamaica landfall late Monday. Warnings for Jamaica. Cayman surge 14 feet southern coastal Jamaica. 12 to 22 inches of rain, probably a lot more than that in some areas. Cat 5 winds near I. Catastrophic impact certain. Pretty much. Man USA says it sucks. Yeah, this sucks. This is terrible. Guys, this is just really awful. Lucy saying good morning. Good morning, Lucy. 267 people watching. Hey, where is everyone watching from? Where are y'all watching from? Main USA adding, thank you for all this info. You're welcome. Yeah, this is all we're trying to do here with these live streams is we're trying to look at the storm in real time and, just provide as many updates as possible, provide as much information as possible. And then, of course, later, when we do our later live streams for the landfall, also try to relay, like, what's happening on the ground, what are the reports coming out, what's the general situation. Corey Bober with a good question asking, what stops a storm like this from reaching wind speeds of 250 miles per hour or more? Basically the physics of the Earth. There is there is an absolute upper limit of wind speed intensity for a tropical cyclone, where the winds are only going to be able to get so strong before they're basically plateaued by the friction of the water, right? Because water does not provide a ton of friction for hurricanes. That's why they form over water. But at some point, but friction, of course, is present. So at some point, the surface level winds can only get so high. I don't know exactly, but it's around 250, maybe below that. But yeah, hurricanes cannot get that strong. Even if you had the warmest, most craziest water temperatures imaginable, there is going to be a limit of how strong the surface level winds can get due to friction. Blizzard commenting, Melissa has gone nuclear. Yeah. All day, really, but she definitely prefers the nighttime. She went nuclear earlier, last night during the overnight hours, and now tonight, after slipping into the shadows of sunset, she's, truly just bombing out. Let's go to a little bit different satellite imagery here. Oh my goodness. I really don't see how we're not looking at a Cat 5 already. Blizzard commenting, satellite estimates showed 155 knots, 175 miles per hour, with a 905 millibar pressure. Yikes! It's not official, but yikes. Oh, that would be a yikes. Transit Miguel 747 asking, is it growing in size? I see colder clouds reaching Jamaica, and it's still going west. That's a good observation, and yeah, I think just kind of concurrent, not blowing up in size, right? We're looking at a blow up in intensity, not necessarily size. But yes, the central dense overcast definitely is getting a little bit larger as we see this insane, just kind of nuclear bombing out of the core eye wall and whole structure. So yeah, maybe growing in size a little bit. Blizzard also asking, commenting, there's no universe that this is still a Cat 4. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. Jamaica's in serious trouble, but she's a beast. Yeah. And, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it will matter. It could matter at some point in the worst way possible. If Melissa starts doing something really insane, like a high-end Cat 5, 170 plus, like those satellite estimates are suggesting, that could have meaningful impacts on just how bad this really is. But yeah, again, it doesn't matter what happens from now on. This is likely going to be a catastrophe, but the more we see this sort of thing, the stronger she becomes here. Obviously, it's becoming an even more dire situation if that was even possible to begin with. Sherman Freeman asking, so it needs 5 miles per left for Cat 5 status. Cat 5 status officially starts at 157 miles per hour. So technically from the last official update, Melissa was 145 miles per hour. So she would need 12 miles per hour more to officially rank as Category 5. I think we're all thinking that she is a Category 5 at this point. We're just waiting for recon to confirm. Transit Miguel 747, thoughts on what the recon may find? My jaw is going to hit the floor if they don't find a Category 5. And that is really, to say that, but I think that's accurate. That's a really, really horrible possibility to think about, but it's very real looking at this. What time will it get there? Ask Nikki Heaton. Nikki Heaton. Here's the cone. Wrong one. I want the interactive one so I can zoom in. Oh, come on. Load. The National Hurricane Center's website is probably borderline crashing. Oh, it's malfunctioning. Okay, here we go, finally. So Nikki Heaton, landfall, potentially Category 5 status, is scheduled for right around sunrise on Tuesday morning. But of course, stay tuned to all updates from the NHC to see if that changed. All right, real quick, guys. I'm going to finally post this update. Wow. Oh, shoot. Let me get back to the satellite imagery here. Near Jamaica. Oh, whoa. LionLW coming. Satellite estimates going bonkers. 899 millibars based on satellite estimates. Again, that's not official. Those are satellite estimates. But, oh, man. Those satellite estimates are just... DJ Pilot saying it's not raining in Jamaica, only the beach areas around the island. Man USA, prayer emoji saying must be so scary for them. Yes, absolutely. Mar commenting, Lord, I'm so worried. My niece is a doctor and works at the Kingston Hospital, and I'm scared for her safety. I'm in Canada, but praying for the people of Jamaica and hoping my niece is safe. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so where are people watching from here? MRM33, McAllen, Texas. Hey, that's not too far from where we're at. We are broadcasting from South Texas. All right. Mar watching from Canada. Oh, wow. We just hit 100 likes on the stream. Wow. Let's see. Gabby Lee watching from Iowa. If you're just tuning in, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us here today. Karen Sutherland, Australia mate. Cool, cool. Enhance You watching from Jamaica. Please be careful, Enhance You. Please have all your preparations rushed to completion if they are not already. Tiki Tony saying just got here, SoCal. Thank you for joining. Felicia Lindo, I'm watching from Florida. Sherman Freeman watching from Meridian, Ohio. Laura C. watching from Cape Coral, Florida. Beverly Beckford from Jamaica. Please stay safe, Beverly. We are all praying for you and really everyone on Jamaica here tonight, as what is pretty much certain to be a disaster just this is looming at your doorstep. This is just really awful. Instantly Ageless watching from British Columbia, Canada. Tara Tyree watching from St. Catherine, Jamaica. Please be careful, Tara. DJ Pilot watching from Canada. Corey Bober from Washington. Laleen Mills watching from Jamaica. Safe wishes, Laleen. Stay safe. Please stay safe. Jimmy watching from London. Felicia Lindo, yes, I'm a proud Jamaican, lived in St. Elizabeth. Anna W. watching from the UK. Hoop Villian watching from Detroit. MPS 0813, Buffalo, you are very knowledgeable. I think talking about one of our commenters, Buffalo. Laz Buffalo. Mark Smith watching from Jamaica. Stay safe, Mark. Corey Bubber asking, will the wind speeds hit the max limit then? That's impossible to tell, but at this point we just have to watch the real-time updates. I just can't believe what I'm seeing here. I mean, this is horrific, and we haven't even had a landfall yet, and already it's horrific. I mean, this is just the worst possible thing that could happen here. I was really hoping that maybe, just maybe, that we would have an eyewall replacement cycle, and at least there would be, a chance that we didn't have a high in Cat 4, Cat 5 landfall. But again, there's been the realization that we're not avoiding this scenario for a couple days now. And like I said earlier, it feels like it just keeps getting worse with every update that we're coming in. Is he watching from Kingston, Jamaica? Definitely be careful down there, Izzy. Main USA commenting, looks like looking down the top of a tornado. Yeah, and what I really want to... the most extreme sign of Melissa's intensity that we're seeing right now is the buzzsaw. Oops, wrong one. The buzzsaw whirling of the eye wall, because the eye wall is here. This is where okay. This is where the most intense winds of the storm are. Look, it just doesn't get more perfect than this. And when a tropical cyclone is perfect, it is powerful. It is extremely powerful. I mean, we are literally looking at as far as satellite presentations go, it does not get more powerful looking than this really in the Atlantic. Which is why the satellite estimates are going haywire. But we can't say anything for certain because we don't have confirmation yet, because Recon isn't in the storm just yet. Cookie Death commenting, very, very moist. Yeah. Here's water vapor. And the water vapor view on satellite is probably the craziest because of how... The water vapor view is probably the craziest because, again, you just don't see this in the Atlantic Basin very often. And that's what, like, I'm trying to convey. Like, this is approaching, if it might not literally approach the MPI, the maximum potential intensity here in the Caribbean, but like the satellite presentation is verging on that, right? It feels like it is, and so doesn't mean it actually is, but to have this level of extreme water vapor in the central dense overcast while having this dry of an eye, right? Okay, these colors are different. These reds, this is extreme water vapor content that you just never, ever, ever, ever see in the Atlantic. It's just sometimes when we get these deep Caribbean storms, and Melissa's certainly an example of that. So you have this extreme water vapor content, all these really deep reds that are rippling with gravity waves. But then in the core here, you see, look, these oranges, that's extremely arid, warm, and dry air, and that is a sign of an incredibly intense hurricane, because the air basically in the eye is missing, right? That's where the low pressure comes from. It is sinking air that is being forced out of the system, and that sinking air causes subsidence, which dries it out, right? That's why you don't see any clouds in the eye of a hurricane, because of how dry it is. And again, I'll give some context here to our viewers. How close this is. Well, okay, this is the southernmost tip of Jamaica. Just 85-ish miles from the eye wall right now. Chris Harlow watching from Colorado and praying for my family in Jamaica. Yep. We are definitely all doing that, and this is a situation that does require prayer. It's that serious. It really is. It really is that bad. And I've seen so many people. I mean, it's just been really eye-opening, and this is always what my first priority is to think about, like, what ways can we, in our own small part, Back Perch Weather, get as much information out to the people being impacted by these storms, like as much information as possible that is useful, because tropical cyclones are one of the most dangerous weather phenomenon in the world, even though we have all this, technology, right? And it's better certainly than it was when we didn't have satellites and they just kind of hit areas and there was no warning. But certainly our first priority is always warning anyone anywhere in the world, like, hey, this is coming, and trying to convey as much useful information as we possibly can. Corey Bober asking a question I should know. What was the highest speed ever recorded for natural wind on Earth? Oh, no, wait, I do know this. Wait, wasn't it that, isn't it the 300, it's 300 something miles per hour. I believe it was a meso, it was like a subvortice in was it the El Reno tornado? Shoot. Wait. I do know this normally, but I think, here. Or was it the Bridge Creek Moor tornado? Tornadoes are kind of a side venture for me. I do cover them when tornado outbreaks happen. They mostly happen in the United States. But that might be tornadic wind speed. So it depends on your question. Or the context. So I think, well, okay, wait, I'm talking about tornadoes. That's measured radar. So I think, I think the highest wind gust ever recorded on Earth, like officially measured, was from a tropical cyclone, Cyclone Olivia. I think, yeah, Cyclone Olivia, and it was like on Barrow Island. This was an Australian cyclone, actually. Cyclone Olivia on Barrow Island, and it was something like 253 miles per hour. I think that actually might be the highest wind speed officially recorded on Earth, but I don't know about that for sure. I should. But I don't. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Wait, so I didn't even see his comment. So Fast Eagle, yeah, 253 miles per hour, Cyclone Olivia. And that was on Barrow Island, Australia. So, yeah, that's the highest wind speed, I think, ever recorded, officially recorded on Earth. And that was from a cyclone. Now, I think certainly, Cyclone Olivia was like a Cat 4, certainly not the most powerful storm ever. So I think certainly there have been Category 5 cyclones that almost definitely generated higher wind gusts than 253 miles per hour. It's just that, you know, you have to have a recording station there to measure it, and it has to also not fail. Chris Harlow asking, is there any way if Melissa can continue going west and actually go around Jamaica? It's a slight one. So technically, yes. The core, based on the National Hurricane Center's last cone, could miss making landfall in Jamaica to the west. That is a possibility within the range of the models. But even in that scenario, and you know, certainly that would be a better scenario. In that scenario, the eye wall may still clip the western side of Jamaica, and of course, you'd still have the big rainfall hazard. I think that's pretty radical. I don't think that will happen, but we'll see. But I would also, you know, caution people in this kind of a rule of thumb to definitely watch for like any last second eastward shifts. I've seen a lot where hurricanes with these kinds of steering patterns, they take a sudden eastward shift. It always seems to be an eastward shift. Don't take that verbatim, but hey, let's zoom into this because like let's just consume the screen with the fury because oh my goodness. And you can actually see a little bit those swirling low-level clouds, these very wispy slow clouds whirling at the very bottom of this insane stadium effect here with Hurricane Melissa. And that intensity is seen Cat 4, 145 miles per hour, 933 millibars. We don't have recon in yet, and the next update's not for like an hour until now. So we don't officially have any observations of that, which is why we don't have confirmed intensity. But like 100%, this is stronger than 145 miles per hour, more intense than 933 millibars. This is getting into the most perfect and energy efficient satellite presentation you can possibly get in the Atlantic. That's reasonable. Nikki Milam asking, how wide is Melissa? Well, that question can be interpreted in a couple different ways. In terms of the cloud shield, okay, well, I guess we can say, so in terms of the central dense overcast, the central dense overcast for Melissa is basically 160-ish miles in diameter. The overall cloud shield... Oh, wait, I can't do that? Interesting. The overall cloud shield kind of asymmetric. Oh, but look at this. Look at all these rain bands over here. But yeah, so the cloud shield of the CDO is 160-ish miles. In terms of the actual wind field, though, which is a much more useful metric. So let's go to the National Hurricane Center's website here. Let's see. So here we go. Based on the last Hurricane Hunter's flight, hurricane force winds in Melissa extend outward up to 30 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 195 miles from the center. So that's how wide Melissa is. Corey Boer saying 253 miles per hour. That sounds devastating, referring to Cyclone Olivia's record. Nikki Milan commenting, someone said the plane turned around, but I don't know where you track the plane. Okay, I will show you here, Nikki. Well, I'm not sure. Can I show tropical? I don't know. All right, so Nikki, if you want to see the Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance planes and their path and all the missions, go to, I mean, there are different websites you can go to. The one I'll recommend is go to tropicaltidbits.com. You go to tropicaltidbits.com, and then on the top header on the front page, you'll see the second option. It says Aircraft Recon. You click on that, and it is a really simple and easy-to-use format showing you the latest tracking update of where the Recon plane is. And in terms of, like, turning around, yeah, the Recon has turned around. So what? No! No! Wait! Why are you turning around? Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh man, I was gonna try and stay live and give you guys the real time update if recon was going into the core, but now it's turning around. Oh no, why? Ah, oh my gosh. Fast Eagle commenting to one of our other commenters here who said, I think they said their niece was working at a hospital in Kingston, Jamaica. Fast Eagle commenting, I can't imagine working in a hospital through this, Mar. I'm so sorry. Corey Bober, cyclones are on the Pacific side, so where was Olivia in the Philippines? Okay, so no, actually, okay. So the nomenclature, the naming nomenclature of cyclones is they are hurricanes if they're in the Atlantic, the East Pacific, and the South Atlantic, but nothing ever forms there. So basically just the North Atlantic and the East Pacific, they're called hurricanes. In the West Pacific and the West Pacific only, they're called typhoons. And then everywhere else, the North Indian Ocean, the South Indian Ocean, and the South Pacific Ocean, they are called cyclones there. So Cyclone Olivia was actually in the Australian region, but I think this Southeast Indian Ocean, technically. Yeah, so here we go. So here's Cyclone Olivia, the storm that generated the highest wind gusts ever recorded on Earth. And I believe this is the island. Yeah, Barrow Island right here. So her eye wall went across this island, and that's where the 253 mile per hour wind gust was reported right here. And so as you can see, Cyclone Olivia was not technically in the Pacific Ocean. She was actually in the she originated in the Timor Sea, and then did her rapid intensification when what is technically the Southeast Indian Ocean, and eventually made landfall in Australia there. But there you go. That's where Cyclone Olivia was. And a bit of a intriguing track there. Oh, let's see. Okay, hold on. Hold on a second. Hold on. Lost track of where we had these comments. Okay, here we go. So yeah, so Fast Eagle says Australia. Corey Bover, yikes, remind me not to visit there. I think he means Australia. Hey, we have multiple people watching from Australia. No offense to you guys in Australia, but you guys are crazy. I mean, Australia has all sorts of stuff, right? I mean, the snakes, the venomous snakes. You've got, like, the deadliest jellyfish in the world. I mean, you go to a beach in Australia, don't you got, like, jellyfish and the stonefish, the most venomous fish. That's one that's, like, kind of can live out of water for, like, 24 hours or something crazy like that. It's like this fish that looks like a stone, lives over 24 hours out of water and can just be on the beach. And if you step on it, it's got a spine and it injects into your foot. It's like the most potent and toxic venom in the animal kingdom. And then you've got like saltwater crocodiles and all the spiders. There's a lot of crazy stuff in Australia. It's a beautiful place though. A lot of crazy stuff. Lots of stuff. I had like a snake book when I was a kid of all the most venomous snakes, and I felt like every other page was a snake in Australia. Main USA saying the recon plane had some disruptions. Oh, I thought we were going to get recon. Oh, shoot. All right, well, we're just going to have to see what the 2 a.m. Eastern Time update says. Atalaya Hamilton saying, good night, I am watching from Jamaica. Good night to you, Atalaya. Please be careful and make sure you are prepared for this. Oh my gosh, Corey Bower said in 1991, my dad tried to get me to go to Australia for 6 months with him. I refused. I do not fly and never will. Okay. Fast Eagle saying good night. Atalia praying for you and everyone. Absolutely. As a reminder, if you're just tuning in, if you're just joining us, thank you for watching Back Perch Weather's live coverage here. Our live update here of Hurricane Melissa. This is not the first live stream we are going to do for this storm. We are going to live stream tomorrow and then also on Tuesday for the landfall. So make sure to follow us on X at Back Perch Crew. On X, we also post continuous hour-by-hour updates there of the storm. And you can find our live streams there. And you can also find our live streams on our YouTube channel at Back Perch Weather Live. And Missy watching from Arizona. Heart pouring watching from Burnsville, Minnesota. Sean's House with Laughter, great username, is asking, is there any chance it continues west all the way? We did have a question like this a moment ago. And again, yes, there is the potential. And I guess in terms of like something to hope for, I guess we can try to hope for that. All things considered. There does exist the possibility, even if it's not the most likely one, for Melissa to take, for her core to, or an eye to maybe miss making landfall directly in Jamaica to the west. So that is a possibility, and we have been seeing southwest shifts lately. Not the most likely scenario, though, but again, we'll just have to keep an eye on, because also remember, it's like it is so important to track exactly where the eye wall of Hurricane Melissa ultimately makes landfall, because the eye wall, even if it's a very large area of winds, it's still a relative, in terms of the whole island, a compact area where those catastrophic Category 5 winds are going to take place. So that's really something that that's going to have to be watched carefully. Also an observation at this point, Jamaica is almost entirely inside the very outer kind of wispy edges of Melissa's CD, a central dense overcast for the first time. Online user 001 watching from Kansas. How often do the recon planes typically update? So like I was saying to Nikki earlier, you can find the updated progress of the Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance planes at tropicaltidbits.com, and then you go to the little header and then you press aircraft recon and it'll show you all the latest updates from the reconnaissance planes. We don't have a reconnaissance plane in Melissa right now, unfortunately, and the one that was going in seems to have turned around, which is kind of a bummer, because we really need to know what's going on and exactly how strong Melissa is. Almost seems certain to be a Category 5. Look at those lightning strikes kind of popping up here in the eye wall, signaling the ongoing intensification. Still Miami 305. I'm from South Florida, feeling high winds and some rain. Cool. CGNIGZGB watching from England. Oh, Sherman Freeman commenting, Meridian, Idaho, not Ohio. My bad. Idaho. Sherman Freeman is watching from Idaho. William Meet Faro saying he's watching from South Philadelphia. New and live the coverage. If you're saying you love the coverage, thank you, William. But yeah, no, like this is what we try to do here, and honestly, all we're doing for this is we're trying to analyze the data here, look at the data, because we don't have like any reports to go by from the ground, because of course Melissa's not hitting land yet. Jillian Murray watching from Space Coast, but we're just trying to extrapolate any of the reports. We did have recon here at the beginning of the stream, but they have since left, and the recon plane that was coming in that I was going to stay live for has turned around. So that's unfortunate in terms of trying to gauge the actual intensity of Melissa is right now. Erica Jones watching for Florida. Rob Dyer watching in Winter Haven, Florida. SDF, do you know when recon will come? No, and I don't know when recon will come, and that question has been further exacerbated by the fact that it appears that recon mission has turned around. Fast Eagle saying South Florida has been getting hammered by the very outer feeder bands. Oh wait, I missed that. Is that true? I can't tell for certain. That's pretty crazy. By the way, look at the lightning activity here in these thunderstorms, these more typical kind of supercellular thunderstorm structures over here in Melissa's eye wall. Now, it's this area that I would say, like, if you're in Haiti, so we haven't talked about coastal Haiti and Dominican Republic at all, but remember, the NHC, if I go to their key messages, which is the most important part here on their website, which is struggling, I think, because of so many people are watching. I can't even get Jamaican radar up here. I would if I could, but it's been down, so I can't show you guys the radar view. Hopefully that'll resolve itself. But like two right here, Haiti and the Dominican Republic, catastrophic and life. Well, that actually doesn't make it easier to read. But Haiti and the Dominican Republic, catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding and landslides are expected across southwestern Haiti and southern portions of the Dominican Republic through midweek. In Haiti, extensive infrastructural damage and isolation of communities are likely. Although winds have temporarily decreased on the Tiburon Peninsula, they are likely to increase again across much of western Haiti on Tuesday. So we have not talked about Haiti much, but definitely super worried about Haiti. They're not expected to get as extreme as rainfall as Jamaica is, unfortunately, but still isolated totals of 16 plus inches. And that's all it takes in Haiti, because the thing is, they are mountainous too, but they also have heavily deforested mountains. And so that without vegetation to tie down the soil and the mud and the dirt on some of those mountains, that's when you can get some truly catastrophic outcomes. And time again, we've seen any storm that gets weak or strong, that gets near Haiti, has a massive potential to inflict a large loss of life. Of course, we saw Hurricane Matthew now 9 years ago. He made landfall in Haiti as a Category 4 across that Tiburon Peninsula, that southernmost edge of the country, and claimed 500 fatalities. So Haiti, definitely a big-time concern, even though we've been mostly talking about Jamaica so far. Hip shooter watching from McMurdo. Javon Myers watching from Jamaica. Are we cooked? I hope not, Javon. I really, really hope not, but it is not looking good. Fast Eagle, who's been one of the regular commenters here tonight. Thank you so much for all the comments, Fast Eagle. Javon Myers is in Westmoreland. Nothing has happened yet. Just a little rain, but he is scared. LCC saying prayers, y'all. Very much so. Claire Cameron is saying hi, is claiming to be Dr. Levi Cohen. I'm not sure if I believe you, Claire. Laura C saying moving so slow. Yep, that is what is enabling really most of it. More so than anything, it's enabling the intensification, enabling the potentially catastrophic rainfall, and enabling the life-threatening storm surge. All of that is being enabled by Melissa's extremely slow movement. Mark commenting, I hope people up the mountains have sheltered, because it looks like they may have extreme flash flooding and landslides, and big rocks will come down those hills with mud. William Faro commenting 13 plus feet of storm surge, 40 to 50 inches of rain, and 130 150 mile per hour winds conservatively. Yeah. For a day and a half with mud and landslides. Speechless. Only way to see how bad this will be is to wait till it's over. God bless Jamaica. Exactly. That's a perfect way to sum up the potential impacts Jamaica is facing. Like, that's how bad it is. Hip Shooter commenting, mud is the worst part to deal with after hurricane passes. Mud boots, duct tape, and chainsaws are a must. Oh, yeah. And I remember during Hurricane Helene last year, with that was an example of catastrophic flash flooding and mudslides in the southern Appalachian Mountains of western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee. And oh my goodness, some of the mud drifts were just so insane from that storm. Like, that was horrible to watch. And literally apocalyptic. Hurricane Helene was for North Carolina. Charlene Tennant watching from Pensacola. And M saying Recon just turned around, question mark, maybe just doing a loop, but this is now the second time. Yeah, I can check that again, but at this point, well, at least Recon has turned around again. Something. So they are so Recon is back, seems to be back en route into the storm, but they are still they're a ways away. Let's just put it that way. They're a ways away. Corey Bober, cyclones are on the Pacific side and typhoons are on the Atlantic side, but both are the same, right? Okay, well, two parts. Yes, so all tropical cyclones basically are the same thing, no matter whether they're called hurricane, typhoon, cyclone. Of course, there's like little finesse details from basin to basin that we could get into, but yeah, they're all tropical cyclones are the same, whether they have hurricane, typhoon, or cyclone before whatever their name is. But again, Corey, it's not that cyclones are on the Pacific side and hurricanes are on the Atlantic side. The hurricanes in the east, storms in the East Pacific are also called hurricanes. And in the West Pacific, they're called typhoons. And so the only area of the Pacific where they're called cyclones is the South Pacific. And then every other basin in the world, the Indian Ocean and the Australian regions, are called cyclones as well. They're they're all the same thing. Jillian Murphy commenting, thank you for the work you do. Very helpful that you are walking us through this while we wait with Jamaica. Thank you for the comment, Jillian. Yep. And as I said before, we're going to be going live again tomorrow. We're going to do another live stream tomorrow. And going to be live pretty much throughout the entire landfall of Hurricane Melissa across Jamaica. And, of course, we will continue to post hour-by-hour updates on our X account at Backperch Crew. SDF screaming, why is Recon headed back? I think they're headed back again. Oh. But yeah, it's the Recon mission, guys. It's going to be really, really late in the night at this point. Javon Myers asking, can you tell approximately what time the hurricane will hit Jamaica? Yep. The anticipated landfall time. Ugh. Load! Come on, U.S. government servers. Aha! Okay. So, the estimated time of landfall is Tuesday morning, potentially Category 5 intensity. The eye wall could start coming ashore before sunrise, and then maybe landfall at sunrise, a little bit after sunrise. But Tuesday morning right now is generally where we're tracking that landfall to occur. But, of course, always continue to look at all updates from the National Hurricane Center, because that is subject to change. And, of course, most importantly, make sure to pay attention to where the latest shifts and trends are, and that's what we're going to try to continue going through and passing along and providing updates with, like where exactly could the core most likely make landfall. Lionel W. commenting, Melissa was at 933 millibars at the 11 p.m. advisory. I wouldn't be surprised if Recon finds 910 millibars at this rate. Doesn't it feel like it? I mean, just look at this thing. This is insanity to have an eye looking like this. This has to be Category 5. And it's like a nightmare, right? It's just like a nightmare coming true. And usually when we have these setups and we're saying, oh, this could be a worst case scenario, like something happens, and even if the hurricane ends up being bad, it doesn't literally end up being the worst case scenario. But that is not happening with Melissa. In fact, the closer we get and the more the cone gets narrowed down and the more certainty we have in the forecast and the models, the worse it's getting. It's like just an absolute nightmare unfolding in real time. This is terrible. But yeah, I'm pretty much, I'm not going to stay up all night, right? I have to sleep at some point, but probably in a short interval. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be up at night and going to be posting whatever Recon finds, right? Going to be doing that update and watching when that happens. Johnny commenting, Recon is turning back. What's going on? I don't know what's going on. The reconnaissance flight is just like back and forth and back and forth. It's crazy. They seem to be headed back in now. They seem to be headed back in, but they're pretty far away. So I don't know that that's going to happen for a couple hours. Trev asking, will the entirety of Jamaica be affected as intensely as previously predicted, given its more westward shift? Well, so we have seen a westward shift, but overall, look, I mean, the biggest problem for Jamaica as a whole is the rainfall because, and I'll keep showing the official map, because it's basically the whole island, right? Basically the whole island, but especially in the central and eastern portions where you can get the 20, 30, 40 plus inches of rain where the absolutely catastrophic stuff can happen. Like the flooding and the inland flooding, that is by far the biggest problem. Now, obviously, a Category 5 eye wall and where that hits, that matters a ton. And so that's what we're going to be looking for, east-west shifts. And as that narrows down further, we're gonna go down through like what specific areas can expect, but also where like the worst case scenario of what already pretty much is a worst case scenario, right? Like technically if we saw a big eastward shift, then that would be worse because it would mean you have like a Category 5 eye wall like into Kingston maybe with the associated storm surge. I mean, that would be the absolute worst case scenario for sure. So we just have to keep watching. Oh my goodness. There's the island of Jamaica, and they're just running out of words here to describe how scary this is. Look at the gravity waves just rippling through this thing, this monster. This is as monstrous as they come in the Atlantic Basin, guys. Javon Myers saying, I hope, Mars saying to Javon Myers, I hope you will be okay and you have family around you. Scary experience was small and lived in St. Vincent. Keep safe and pray. Try to get some sleep before tomorrow. I pray you stay safe. Thank you for sending out those kind words, Mar, to everyone. Transit Miguel 747. Looks like the Recon is heading back. Can you please confirm? Yeah, I can confirm that it does appear as though Recon is heading back into the storm, but again, quite a ways away still. Bobby Perry commenting, Australia has boomerangs too. It's true. It's true. And kangaroos. See what those kangaroos and dingoes. You know, as this saying goes, maybe the dingo ate your baby. You got to watch out for those dingoes. Jupiter Judy saying hello, watching from Florida here. Javon Myers asking what website is that? Well, I've gone a couple websites. So this is not a website. This is an app, RadarScope. This is RadarScope Pro. So this is an app you can download. In terms of the websites I've visited here, this is nhc.noaa.gov. So this is where you can get the official and most reliable information, right? This is from the official National Hurricane Center. They're the ones putting out the rainfall potentials, the key messages, which again are kind of malfunctioning here intermittently because so many people are watching, and the forecast cones. So this is nhc.noaa.gov. This is where you should get your official information. Definitely watch this website a lot and go to their socials, their social media accounts. And then this, if you're referring to this satellite view, is windy.com, which is great for a whole bunch of other things, including tracking hurricanes. As a note, none of those websites paid me to say any of those things. Yep, recon going back in. We're saying, hard to imagine the ocean surface temp where Melissa is 86 degrees Fahrenheit. How insane is that? Never felt hot ocean water before, like a bathtub. Wild. Yeah, these are the hottest. These are pretty much the warmest tropical waters in the world. So, and remember, it's not just the temperature, but the depth at which that temperature extends. Laura L.T. Windsor, watching from north central Ohio. Trudy Brown, praying for a miracle that it may just brush past us. Yeah, you would still get probably major flooding, even in that scenario, right? Even in the what at this point would be a miracle scenario if Melissa happens to turn or shift so far west that she misses a direct landfall. But yeah, so I guess in terms of reasonable best case scenarios, I guess that would be one of them. But yeah, it's bad. This is a really bad situation. And Missy, thank you for your stream and information. Thank you for watching, Missy. Recon is back. Javon Mars asking, where will the eye pass through at this time, Javon? This is where the eye is expected to make landfall between Black River and Barbary Hill, Jamaica, and then potentially crossing right through the center of the country right here. But again, that is subject to change and very likely will change. Even if it ends up being this, you have to make sure to continue watching all updates from the National Hurricane Center to know every latest shift. Melissa, again, kind of just sitting here. Are saying, Denton Palmer, praying for you, and please stay safe. Hope you are safe in a secure place. God bless you. Jupiter Judy saying, no, Florida getting a front from the north. We got that front here in South Texas the other night, and we got like 3.5 inches. And you don't know how rare 3.5 inches is in South Texas. That was pretty cool to get that much rain here. We're in a big drought down here. Trudy Brown saying, my home is pretty secure. That's good to hear, Trudy. Trudy also saying, praying also for all the other Caribbean islands. Haiti needs much prayers. Yeah, Haiti. We haven't talked about Haiti much, but Haiti has that likewise potential to see, really you could have isolated areas on the Tiburon Peninsula, especially if you get these rainfall totals. It doesn't matter that they're not too high because the mountains in Haiti have been heavily deforested. So, and there's also many very vulnerable villages lying at the base of those mountains. So Haiti is in a bad way. So we can't forget about them. New Image Design 16 saying Recon is headed back in. Yeah, but how far is Recon, from the core? Yeah, it's going to be a long time before Recon gets in the core, I think. But it is good that they're heading back in. Jeff Mills commenting, watching from Hilliard, Ohio, lived in Naples for Irma. Ooh, that was ground zero for Irma, and thought that was bad. This is going to be really bad. Oh yeah, compared to Wilma, Melissa is going to be way, way worse, just from the wind aspect alone. Or saying, stay safe, people, for Jamaica. I'm going to bed. It's after 1 a.m. Good night, Mar. Thanks for tuning in. Roni saying, we missed the recon at the peak of intensity. Hopefully not. We need to know how strong this thing is. But I don't think we're going to... I think the situation's actually so bad, with how Melissa's intensifying, that there's a good chance recon can still catch something close to whatever intensity she's on right now. Patrick WX got a bit worried until recon turned back into Melissa. It's Kaylee commenting, watching from Jamaica 2 from the location the ice is supposed to pass through. Yikes. Yeah, be prepared, be ready. This is the real deal. This could be a Category 5 hurricane, and where the eye exactly goes is subject to change. But so definitely keep watching that, right? Definitely keep watching every update, every new cone that comes out, and I certainly will be posting every one that comes out on @BackridgeCrew on X. But yeah, be really well prepared and have a really, really good shelter plan if it still appears tomorrow that you are going to get in the eye wall of this storm, because this storm is no joking matter. Okay, we're talking about a Category 5 hurricane that the National Hurricane Center is predicting. Of course, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but we'll have to watch for that. It's not looking good right now. Trudy Brown saying, praying for your safety at It's Kaylee. Villain asking, was there an evacuation plan for this? I just started paying attention to the situation. I mean, how much of an evacuation plan can you have? I mean, a lot of people can't just leave the island, and it's like an island of 2.8 million people. So there's only so many places you can evacuate to, and that's what's so worrisome. Is you can evacuate from areas that look like they're going to be super vulnerable to storm surge. Right? So storm surge you can evacuate from, but the problem is you have the flooding coming in, not just from the ocean, but from the mountains as well. So that's where it's where are you going to evacuate to, right? In essence, you're is there even an escape from this in certain areas? That's why this is such a dire situation. Jeff Mills saying, prayers for Jamaica from Hilliard, Ohio, praying for everyone's safety. God is with you all. Thank you, Jeff. Kay saying, stay strong, people of Jamaica. And Missy, prayers for all of you in chat in Jamaica. Stay safe. Get to higher ground shelters. Yes. Thank you, everyone, for sending the prayers and well wishes in chat. It's been really, really great. And also, I've just been inundated with comments today. So many comments of people, sending prayers to the people of Jamaica. It's just been really, really crazy, but also pretty cool to see so many people coming forward and offering their prayers for Jamaica tonight and tomorrow and the next day. Dr. Mario says, wow. Ronnie Moxham watching from Treasure Beach in Jamaica. Yeah, Treasure Beach is definitely in an area that could end up as ground zero. Just to comment again on how insane what we're seeing is, it's just a absolutely perfect cyclone, and that is the worst. Oh my goodness, look at this. Look at how dry the atmosphere is becoming. So this is not low-level water vapor. This is upper-level water vapor, and we're now seeing that dry air get into the upper levels of the atmosphere in the eye. That is really serious, guys. This is a really serious sign that we're dealing with an incredibly intense storm. Here's the lower-level water vapor showing an increasingly just a scorchingly dry eye at this point, with all this extreme moisture content and the central dense overcast around it. This is all of this rain, all this water vapor that's packed in here. This is what's going to cause the main element of the disaster, which is the rainfall. But on top of that, we may have a Category 5 strength direct landfall as well. I mean, it all just is such a bad situation. But The fact that we're seeing dry air like this on the upper level water vapor satellite imagery, that's super worrying. And just take a look at the spin on this thing. Absolutely ferocious. Ronnie Moxham commenting, wind is picking up in Treasure Beach. Mixed Games asking, how bad is Jamaica going to be affected from this? The National Hurricane Center is warning of potentially catastrophic impacts that extend well beyond after the initial impact of the storm. And they're using very grave language like extensive infrastructural damage, long duration power and communication outages, and isolation of communities are expected. Life-threatening storm surge damaging waves are expected along portions of the southern coast Monday night and Tuesday morning of Jamaica. So it's really bad. In a nutshell, really, really bad. Trans Miguel 747 recon is 116 miles from the Eye of Melissa. Shudo's Roots coming in here late at night. Gosh, I cannot read these comments on that. Let's go back to this. Shudo's Roots saying, I worry about landslides so much in the storm. I remember reading yesterday that Melissa, since she's stalling, is so large covering all of Jamaica that she will leave 15 to 35 plus inches of rain. That and constant major hurricane conditions, storm surge, flooding, and Cat 4 winds. Yep, right on. Jamaica daily with a message, God is with us, my people. A great message there. Jeff Mills, not sure if you will be setting up any donation options for the aftermath, but please keep us all updated how it can help. Yeah, I'll certainly share. I will certainly share where you can donate to help in this potential aftermath. Yeah, no problem. Blasey Green saying, Dear Lord, protect my family and friends and all the Jamaican people. Stay safe. And I think this really, you know, if you're watching and you're not in Jamaica, I think you can really kind of, you know, understand the gravity of the situation just by seeing some of these comments from people in Jamaica who are about to be affected by this. By this monster hurricane. And I think that really conveys just how serious and blood-chilling this situation is. Really kind of a worst-case scenario situation. Geometry Bloxia commenting, this is going to be way worse than Gilbert. Yep. Well, again, like I said earlier in the stream, so Hurricane Gilbert is the last major hurricane to make landfall in Jamaica, and he did so 37 years ago in 1988. He was a Category 3, high in Category 3, very large Category 3, generated 19 feet of storm surge, damaged and destroyed hundreds of thousands of houses across Jamaica and left 40-plus fatalities in his wake. Now, 37 years later, yes, a lot has changed in 37 years, obviously, but Melissa is in all likelihood going to be much stronger than Gilbert ever was at landfall. And when you couple that with the slow movement, that is just making her all the more, making her potential all that more devastating. So I don't usually like to take, like I said, like, what's the worst hurricane to hit a certain area, and then use a real-time example to say, oh, this is going to be worse than that. But this is an example where I might break that rule because it seems so clear that this is going to be a mega disaster. Commenter from X asking estimated recon data time. Let's see. Well, I don't know, because, guys, don't, hold on a second, don't hold your breath. Wait a second. I don't like the way this looks, guys. just going to show you my phone screen at this point. You see that right there? It's not working. Tropicaltidbits.com. Maybe you saw it for a second, but I am not liking how that plane icon is facing the wrong direction. So, that curvy trans girl, Michigan, I don't know when the estimated recon time is because the plane keeps turning around. I guess. I don't know what's going on with the recon there. Javon Myers, it's really blood chilling. Have not slept from yesterday. I can imagine, yeah. Gabby Lee, recon is driving me crazy. Oh, I know! What are they doing? Oh, I thought maybe despite the delay that they were going to get there in time, but oh my goodness, what are we doing? What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? What is recon doing? Ooh, misplayed with a very good comment here, actually, saying, keep in mind that high ground isn't necessarily the best option. There's a massive risk of landslides in the mountains. Yeah, and the landslide risk is 100% more pervasive and dangerous, probably, I would say, than the storm surge risk. Now, obviously, if you're in a very low-lying coastal area that's very susceptible to storm surge, yes, you should probably seek higher ground somewhere, but just going up in this situation is not actually the best course of action because the landslide risk is so great. Transit McGill 747 saying flight radar 24 has the aircraft very close to the center. Tropical Tidbits is behind. Really? Are you saying that Tropical Tidbits all this time is the erroneous one? I hope so. Well, I'm kind of seeing the same on cyclonicwx.com, which also has the recon interface. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure what the exact situation is here with the reconnaissance aircraft, but I don't know. Javon Myers, really not much you can do but pray at this point. Yep, that is definitely true. STF saying the plane is pointing normally on different websites. Okay, all right, well, maybe Tropical Tidbits is erroneous. Let's see this comment here. Jupiter Judy at Backbridge. I've lived in Florida since 1979. I've been through many hurricanes, including Andrew, through back-to-back. At times, recon will have problem steering, or they bounce off of target. Oh, yeah. 100% for sure. That is the case with recon often. I'm just I'm being very exaggerative, just a little bit. Just because we're not getting... But, I mean, okay, well, I don't know about recon, but we are going to get a new advisory from the National Hurricane Center one way or the other, and that's coming up within the next 17 minutes. So we are going to... we're going to relay that live, because I don't see how they don't, even without recon data, just by the satellite estimates alone, upgrade Hurricane Melissa here. because this hurricane has absolutely exploded after the completion of an eye-wall merger, and really might actually, should her inner core survive, be attempting to push the mathematical limits of how strong a storm can become. Not saying she's doing that yet, but like the potential is there for her to push the mathematical limits of how strong a storm can become in this region of the world. Jeff Mills saying, not sure how accurate this is, but I read on AI that 70% of obstructions in Jamaica are not hurricane-proof regulated, which is scary. Hoping people have some reliable options for shelter. So yeah, new update is coming in here, guys, in less than 15 minutes. So we're going to watch that. Going to see what the National Hurricane Center goes with without recon data, using purely satellite-derived estimates. But you got to figure they're going to upgrade the strength somewhat. And if recon can ever get in there, I think we'll almost certainly see that we have a Category 5 on our hands. But without that official confirmation, who knows what the National Hurricane Center here goes with at this 2 a.m. Eastern Time advisory. M. Missy saying, just subscribed. Thank you, M. Missy. Thank you for everyone who has subscribed and also liked the stream. Yeah, because we are going to continue to go live again tomorrow, and then again for landfall. And so we're definitely going to continue to cover this potentially catastrophic situation as it grows more and more imminent for the island of Jamaica throughout the day tomorrow, both on our YouTube channel and on our X feed. Okay, so we're waiting on that update here. Javon Myers asking, so will this hurricane be stronger than Hurricane Beryl that hit Jamaica in 2024? Yes, almost certainly. And also, it's an important fact to remember that Hurricane Beryl did not make a direct landfall over Jamaica. So she came very close. Her eyewall kind of grazed the southern area of the coastline, but Beryl did not make a direct landfall. Also, even though she was a Category 4 storm, she was a much smaller and much weaker and much more disheveled system that was getting torn apart by wind shear at the time. Melissa is completely the opposite. She is big, strong, and completely unaffected. There's pretty much no wind shear at all that's affecting her right now. So completely different situation. Yes, certainly 100%. Melissa is going to be way worse than any damage that Beryl produced in 2024. Was muted there for a second. Whoa. Here is dual infrared and water vapor views right now. It just gets more extreme with every frame. The low-level clouds swirling. The gravity waves, the pinwheeling mess of vortices, and that Exceptionally violent eye wall. Blaze Green commenting, all the people who are living on the sidelines of the Hope River, please leave now. Love all God, Cubs, everything at this dangerous time in my country. Always precious. Yeah, the rivers and the mountains and the inland flooding thing, that is... Gabby Lee saying recon is very close to the eye? Really? Is that true? Oh, shoot, it is! Okay, wait. Yo! Okay, it was a malfunction. It was Tropical Tidbits acting up. We're gonna get recon, guys. It looks like we're gonna get recon very soon. We're gonna show it to you there. There's the eye. Oh, well, there's the eye. There's the plane going in. Okay, so recon was staying the course the whole time. All right, wow. So right now, this is crazy. So right now, recon is in here. What are they gonna find? Wonder if it's going to be in time for the advisory, or if they're going to issue this advisory, then like maybe issue a special advisory if they're too conservative. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting situation. But recon, all right. So hallelujah, recon is in the core of the storm. They're in the thick of this furious whiteout of the CDO, basically in this general area, and they're about to get into the eye and eye wall. And man, this is going to be crazy. This could be crazy. And we could definitely see a Category 5 upgrade. Fast Eagle, 45 miles to the core, navigating storm bands. Also, I want to note, I haven't talked about this, but if Melissa is confirmed to be a Category 5 hurricane, she would be the third Category 5 Atlantic hurricane of 2025 after Umberto in September and Aaron in August, okay? And that's major because only one other time in recorded history has the Atlantic Basin had more than 2 Category 5 hurricanes in a single year. And that year was 2005. Ironically, we've had a lot of 20th anniversaries this year. We had the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Rita, and Wilma. Of course, Wilma, the most powerful Atlantic hurricane of all time. So 2005 is the only year where we had 3+ Category 5 Atlantic hurricanes. And if Melissa is confirmed to be a Cat 5 here, and I can't imagine that she's not, then it would be only the second time in history and the first time since 2005 that we've had 3+ Category 5s in the Atlantic Basin in a single year. Ryan Collins saying, I've never seen a storm this scary looking. I'm worried about the updates. Yeah, this is crazy scary looking. There's no doubt about it. Man, so all this time, recon was actually very close. This is going to be interesting, the timing between whether the plane gets in the core and what the National Hurricane Center decides to do. Approximate location. SDF recon on the edge of the eye wall. Edward E. asking what is the threshold of wind speed to the end of Category 5? Well, at present, there is no threshold at the end of Category 5. Category 5 just goes on... it doesn't have a ceiling, basically. There is no classification higher than Category 5. Now, the strongest Category 5 ever recorded in the Atlantic in terms of wind speed was Hurricane Allen in 1980. He had 190 mile per hour winds. So that's the strongest. That's the strongest winds an Atlantic hurricane has ever had. Transit Miguel 747 Recon very close to the eye. We should have data for the 2 a.m. advisory. Oh, it's going to be close. It's going to be close. Online user 001 saying, thanks for staying live for the update. Yep, of course. And like I said before, if you've been watching us, you've heard me say this already. But if you're just now tuning in, if you're just joining us, we will be going live again tomorrow, and then again Tuesday morning. But yeah. So for sure, online user 01, and thank you for tuning in, and thank you for everyone who's liked the stream. This is now our this is now Backperch Weather's most liked stream ever since we started doing this. We've only done a couple this year, so really thanks for all the support, guys, and thank you for tuning in here. But yeah, we are watching here for this update now, and watching both the update, the advisory, which they're waiting on till the last second, trying to see if we can get any data from the hurricane hunters, if they can make it into the core and transmit that before they have to release, because they have to release an update at 2 a.m. Eastern time. So sometimes you'll see a situation where they issue an advisory at 2 a.m., but then if the recon comes in like 5 minutes later, they'll do like a special advisory at 2:15 a.m. Eastern time or 2:25 a.m. Eastern time or something like that. Cookie Death commenting crazy readings soon from recon, and it feels like it when we're looking at how insanely ferocious this satellite presentation is. Okay, recon just went through the core. Let's see what they got. Holy cow, guys. 923 millibars. 923 millibars. Extrapolated surface pressures. 923 millibars. In the eye of Hurricane Melissa, just now, recon. The data just came in. Whoa. There you go. Oh man, we could have a Category 5 here. Are these wind readings correct? Chat? All right, 150 miles per hour. Okay, so here's the official update. Breaking news, guys. Breaking news. So the 2 a.m. advisory just came in. They just upgraded the winds to 150 miles per hour and lowered the pressure in the advisory down to 926 millibars. Okay. So here's the new advisory. A new peak intensity. So let me post this update. ,926 millibars is the official National Hurricane Center advisory. 150-mile-per-hour winds. This is upper echelon stuff, guys. So not a Cat 5, still a high in Cat 4 is what the National Hurricane Center is going with. Hold on, I'll get to your questions and comments here. So as we expected, almost done here, almost done here. Upgraded winds, 150 mile per hour sustained winds, just 7 miles per hour short of Category 5 status. And what was the latest position update? Okay, there we go. All right. Okay. So let me get to this. Oh, man. Okay. So Alexis Smith commented, as it mirrors with every scan, the eye seems to look more symmetrical and circular and less wobbly. Yep. 100%. Lionel W throwing in here, even though we've got the data from the Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance, still going with... So honestly, kind of... Not saying it's totally unexpected, but so like as Lionel W is here pointing out, satellite estimates now at a t-value of 8.0 with a pressure of 889 millibars. I expect Recon to find it much weaker than that, and they did. But it really goes to show that Melissa continuously is having, continuously, her satellite presentation is continuously looking a lot more powerful, as powerful as she is, than what Recon is finding. This is really interesting, honestly. Shooter's Roots, like someone said earlier, I have an eerie feeling I won't like the data of the next update. My prayers have been with Jamaica for days. But wow. Gabby Lee coming, looking like Recon got around 160 mile per hour winds. Yeah, I saw that. They decided to go with 150 miles per hour for the 2 a.m. Eastern update. Yeah, there's Transit Miguel, 747, 923 millibars first pass through. Shudo, central pressure dropped to 923. Yep, they went with 926, so they didn't go all the way down there, but yeah. Dog what? Nicole Parrish asking, could there be an 18-foot storm surge? Yeah, absolutely. I think it will depend on exactly where the peak onshore flow from Melissa comes in, but you know, generally, if you had Gilbert come in as a Cat 3 and he generated a 19-foot storm surge, and certainly Melissa's capable of generating something similar, but we'll have to see. Geometry Biloxia saying 4 feet of rain is hard to comprehend. Yep, that is in the cards, especially in eastern Jamaica. It's like God saying it's like pretty much a gigantic EF3 tornado that's only traveling a few miles per hour. Yeah, pretty much. William Meet Farrow commenting on those satellite estimates. This doesn't really look like a W, does it? I think I made it worse. Yeah, the satellite estimates are crazy. And Javon Myers. It's not a good situation, Javon, for Jamaica, and this is unfortunately what the National Hurricane Center has been forecasting. Remember, their last cone shows Melissa getting even stronger than this, as unfathomable as that seems, and it also shows a landfall directly into Jamaica with sustained winds a little bit higher than this, 160 miles per hour, and gusts potentially up to 195 miles per hour, which is officially Category 5 intensity. So they didn't go Cat 5 with this update, but the hurricane hunters did indeed find a stronger storm. But again, it does seem interesting the way that the satellite estimates and the satellite appearance. I mean, that's what it looks like to me, to be honest. You know, if I saw this hurricane in the Western Pacific where they don't have any recon, and I was just looking at it from the satellite perspective, I would say, oh yeah. Something like this is, you know, low 900 MBAR easy and probably sub 900 millibars. So that's not the case here. It was the lowest pressure they got was 923. They decided to go with 926 for the 2 a.m. Eastern Time update. So extremely powerful, yes, a new peak intensity. But it just does seem interesting that the recon cannot find support for Cat 5 when you're looking at such an unreal in the worst way possible, but such an unreal satellite presentation that we're looking at right now. And that has been I mean, just look at that eye. Look at that. But that has been a consistent trend all day, is that the you know, apparently Melissa is going to be the type of, going to be like an appearances are deceiving type of storm consistently, and continue to surprise us a little bit, continue to throw us a few curveballs. It is also worth mentioning that after her initial intensification phase, which was definitely explosive, right, going from the tropical storm to a Category 4 in such a short amount of time, but since then she has had a very stable structure, but also one that has not really varied a whole lot in intensity, despite the satellite appearance improving so much, right? Because like the satellite improvement appearance here is so much more robust and so much more powerful than what was being indicated earlier, and yet the winds have only gone up 10-ish miles per hour based on this last advisory. So really weird stuff, really interesting stuff. But it doesn't take away from how how exceptionally dangerous the overall situation is for the entirety of Jamaica because of that rainfall risk. But I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm definitely going to continue to track this recon mission, see if by the next pass if we're getting ongoing intensification. But yeah, like, I mean, again, just based on satellite, felt like you're looking at a storm that had dropped more than just 10 millibars from when we last had recon in there. But no, it's 7 to 10 millibars. So Melissa has been a really, really interesting storm in this way, if you want to call her interesting, and of any capacity. But yeah, I don't know. She hasn't not been consistent. This has been the consistent. I mean, just to be clear, like, Melissa looks way, way better. And all satellite, if you went just by satellite data, she looks way better than Hurricane Umberto or even Hurricane Aaron did earlier this year. And they were both Cat 5s now, but again, you can't go purely off appearances. But it's not erroneous because the satellite estimates are throwing out some absurd intensities. And yes, while that is overdone, that is only kind of a rule of thumb type of thing. That's not official. That's why we don't reference satellite estimates as official estimates. You know, we leave the professionals at the National Hurricane Center to kind of decipher that information down and make a more accurate guess. It just seems like Melissa has been talking the talk a little bit more than she's been walking the walk when we really get a reconnaissance aircraft under the hood. But, you know, ultimately we're just kind of splitting hairs here, because the fact of the matter is you're really looking at an almost unavoidable worst case scenario for Jamaica with this system. Let's see the latest movement, at least with the last. Due west at 5 miles per hour. So still sliding west. Definitely a stronger storm than when the hurricane hunters were last in there. But maybe not as strong as you would initially think. But there's so much more than just the strength of Melissa's eye wall. And if you haven't seen it, if you just tuned in, this is the official key message from the National Hurricane Center for people in Jamaica. It is to quote, "Seek shelter now. Damaging winds and heavy rainfall tonight and Monday will cause catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding and numerous landslides before potentially devastating winds," and that's referring to Melissa's eye wall, "arrive Monday night and Tuesday morning." So that's the landfall time frame. And then this is the craziest part, right? This is the most dire language that we've seen from the National Hurricane Center in a while. They're saying Jamaica could suffer extensive infrastructural damage, long-duration power and communication outages, and isolation of communities is possible or are expected. They're actually not even saying possible, is expected. Life-threatening storm surge and damaging waves are expected along portions of the southern coast Monday night and Tuesday morning. So the gist is, the bottom line is, if you're in Jamaica, like, that's what you need to be preparing for. Not just for the storm's initial impact, but what could come after. Really a potentially horrifying aftermath when you read what the NHC has to say there. And you can see why that's the case, because if you couple rainfall totals like this, 20 to 30 plus inches, 500 to 750 plus millimeters, and you're potentially coupling that with a Category 5 landfall, or honestly anything close, doesn't have to be a Category 5, even a high in Category 4, that's not going to make much of a difference. you're just looking at total island-wide devastation. And we're not even talking about the storm surge for the coastal low-lying areas. And Missy commenting, Javon Myers, I'm saying extra prayers for you right now to find peace, strength, and faith that you will be safe. Thank you, M. Missy. Man USA, Jamaica is like a sitting duck. Yeah, truly is, because, especially because of the way Melissa's just sitting south of the island. Man. Fast Eagle, I'm concerned about your location, Javon. Javon says yes. A lot of different areas tonight that we're having extreme concern for Jamaica. Okay, so with that latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center, officially upgrading Melissa to a new peak intensity of 150 miles per hour and 926 millibars, an extremely powerful Category 4 hurricane. I am going to wrap up this live stream tonight, but if you are watching now, we will be going live again on X and YouTube tomorrow, and then also again for Melissa's landfall into Jamaica when that happens. And on our X feed, you can find it at Backperch Crew. We will continue posting updates, every development about the storm as it occurs throughout the night, tomorrow morning, all the time. Like we're running the 24-hour shift here at Backperch Weather. My crew and I, we're doing everything we can to get these live streams up and running and to continue to research all the information, all the research that we can find to try and put out there. A couple more comments. Fast Eagle, well, you already know how bad the flooding there is even when there's not a hurricane. I don't have to tell you what's your elevation where you are. I'm very concerned about you there, my friend. Cookie Death saying he'll tune in. So yeah, gonna wrap up this live stream now, but we are going to go live again and continue every aspect of this potentially catastrophic. Not throwing catastrophic out there to be hyperbole. Like, this is real. This is an extremely serious situation where the NHC is predicting a Category 5 landfall over Jamaica. Jamaica has never been hit with in modern history. Jamaica has never been hit with anything stronger than a high-end Category 3, and that was Gilbert all the way back in 1988, 37 years ago. So if Melissa makes landfall at Cat 5, high-end Cat 4, or really as a Cat 4 at all, she will be hitting Jamaica at an unprecedented strength for the island's modern history. Lionel W saying, and I dropped on from that recon pass recently, found 925 millibars with the support for 923, 924. So thank you everyone for tuning into to this live stream, whether from X or from YouTube. And we will see you again soon. Is this really? I mean, we hold live streams sometimes for just really powerful storms out in the ocean, and that's when we want to do live streams, right? When it's just a big storm out in the ocean, it's not affecting anyone, not hurting anyone, and we can just we want to talk about the science of tropical cyclones and answer questions and all that. Like, that's when we want to be live streaming for. We never want to be in this situation, but since it does happen, and every now and then, and since it's happening here, we are certainly going to be fully locked in on pretty much just continuous live coverage on X and with live streams like this, all the way to landfall, through landfall, after landfall too, like reporting in the aftermath and everything that's going on there, and also the landfall in Cuba later down the line as well. So thank you all for tuning in. Wish it could be under happier circumstances, because this is definitely a bad one. But we're just going to have to hope and pray that Jamaica makes it through this. And they will make it through this. It's just it could be really bad. The aftermath could be really terrible. And Missy, thank you. Good night. God bless. Javon Myers, thank you for the info. No problem. Yep. All right, so wishing you all well tonight, praying for Jamaica's safety. And we'll be signing off here tonight, but we will be live streaming again soon.